All right, the time is now 6:31. We are in session. Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Sandy Oaks, Texas will be held on Thursday, June 12th, 2025 at 6:30 PM at City Hall, 22870 Priest Road, Sandy Oaks, Texas. Where a quorum of the City Council will be present and all agenda items are subject to action. You can join the meeting at the Zoom link found in the agenda. The public will be permitted to offer public comments in person, telephonically, or by audio as provided by the agenda and as permitted by the presiding officer during the meeting by signing up with the city secretary at least 15 minutes in advance of the meeting, if providing comments in person, and at least 2 hours in advance of the meeting by emailing the city secretary or by calling 210-607-0834 if speaking telephonically or by audio. An audio recording of the meeting will be made and will be available to the public in accordance with the Texas Public Information Act. All right, Madam Secretary, may I have a call to order, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Madero.
Here.
Alderwoman CJ Walker.
Here.
Alderman Tremblay.
Here.
Alderman Faluser.
Here.
Alderman Rapino.
Here.
City Secretary is present and City Attorney is present as well.
All right, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas,
One state, under God,
one and indivisible. Okay, citizens to be heard, persons wishing to speak may sign up with the city secretary in the time and manner indicated above. At this time, I do have Jose Sabuera. Is that right? Sabuera?
Buenas tardes, es un gusto estar compartiendo este momento con ustedes, a lo cual quería decirte, voy a dar un permiso para trabajar aquí. Compré una chica por acá y pues me dijeron que tengo que hacer permiso.
So I can help you out.
Yeah. Who wants permission to work somewhere around here?
We issued him a city ordinance, violation, right? He has he lives down Priest Road, works on 18-wheelers. As we know, the 18-wheeler, commercial motor vehicle ordinance violation that we have with all oversized vehicles, trailers, if they're not registered, the whole ordinance, right? So when I spoke to him, and, he said when he was advised and he bought the place, that he could have it, his livelihood. I told him this is what the ordinance is. What he's asking is if the city can create maybe a permit for people who have an established business. And he says he paid whatever the permit would be for the year just to work on vehicles, right? Not keeping his own vehicles there, but he changes tires, does mechanic work, stuff like that on them. And right down from the road from his house is another yard, another shop with truck tractors and trailers and stuff there too, and I get this concern on, it's not just me, but there's another shop down the road that they have a business that's operating. This is my livelihood. So I advise him the only way that could be even looked at or addressed was for him to come to the council meeting, right? So that's what he was here for. So that could be an issue on maybe we can, in another meeting, that's on the agenda, could we have a permit or something that would authorize businesses, not just private people working, but somebody who owns a business work on commercial motor vehicles.
Okay.
We can address that, but I'd like to speak to you after we need.
Yes, sir.
And
Yeah.
yeah, we do need to address.
Very well. Thank you.
Right.
Gracias, señor.
Gracias, mi amor.
Sí. All right, the time is now 6:35. We do now have Mr. Terry Reagan. Mr. Reagan, do you want to speak now or do you want to wait till your agenda item comes up?
Sure.
Okay.
Would it be acceptable to approach council?
Please.
Great. I have some pictures. We only have one set of pictures, so rather than, pictures are worth 1,000 words, right? So this is one of my favorite ones. So this right here is, I don't know if y'all want to pass it around or just look. This one right here is you walk in the front door of the mobile home. And that was right after the fire and just right before the rain hit. And so very, very current. And so you can see big difference. And what's in the background on the nice clean one is that's my favorite picture because there's an American flag in the background and that flag survived the fire. It was a miracle. It was right next to the fireplace. It's amazing. Kind of an appropriate time, you know, the thing going on in our nation.
Just for a point of clarity, this is in reference to agenda item 11B, just for documentation purposes.
And we can leave you all these copies if you wish. We can make other copies. This one right here is, these are all four put together. And so this is the front of the house. And it's pretty much kind of obvious which ones are which. The one in the upper right is the way it is right now. And you can see the differences between those. I did put the skirting back underneath. Just the floor is just the floor that's going to be the skirting is there.
Mr. Reagan, not to be rude, but you have 3 minutes, so.
Okay, gotcha. Oh yeah, we'll move right through it.
Let's get it.
My wife, we usually sign. So this one right here is the back of the property. And once again, it's pretty obvious, the progress. This one right here is if you were looking at one end of the trailer before and after. This right here is looking out towards the backyard, before and after. We do have a dump trailer full of metal ready to go. That flag's in the background again.
Go ahead and explain that one too while we pass this one along.
So this one right here is, of course, the dogs were saved in the fire. And so this is the dog kennel report.
All right, Mr. Reagan, we have met our time. I'll give them an opportunity to review your pictures. Thank you, sir, for your time here.
Questions, concerns? Yeah, I thought we had 6 minutes.
If both of y'all had signed up, yes.
Well, I kind of signed up for,
Okay,
if you have any questions or concerns.
and we can always talk to the agenda item too. Thank you. Okay. All right, so at this time, we'll move right along to agenda item 4, Mayor and Administrator updates and announcements. At this time, the only announcement that I have is that the Oaks at Waterwood, which is the new subdivision in the back, have agreed to submit their information to the city of San Antonio to request us to annex them. There's still a process, but they've reached out today and said they are submitting everything that they need to give to San Antonio. So that way they could be released. Then at that point, we'll go into negotiations with San Antonio if we want to pursue that. But that's really the only other announcement that I can think of at this time. All right, so moving on to the consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by the city. By the City Council of the City of Sandy Oaks. and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be a separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately.
Sir, I move to remove this item from the consent agenda. I have some issues to discuss.
Okay, so we do have a motion to remove the entire agenda from discussion for separate discussion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by the Mayor Pro Tem and a second by Alderman Rapino to have separate discussion on the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? All right,
Um,
you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. So I move for item 6C to strike the sentence that states, according to CPS guidelines, the proper distance between streetlights should be 100 to 110 feet.
6B, did you say?
Under 6C,
Charlie, sir.
Yep.
Okay,
just strike it. You can insert anything.
No, sir, because that contradicts the ending of the follow-on sentence.
Gotcha.
And so the two of them together are confusing. So and that's because that was added based on my feedback
Okay,
previously, but that sentence, I wish for it to be removed.
okay. Do we want to do this in one motion, in a single motion per strike, if you have multiples or?
It's just one at a time, sir. It's
Okay.
the better way to do it. So I move to strike that sentence from paragraph 6, Charlie.
Okay, so I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Madero. Do I have a second?
yeah, I'll second.
And a second by Alderman Rapino to strike, according to CPS guidelines, the proper distance between streetlights should be 100 to 110 feet on agenda item 6C. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is that the only,
No.
No.
All those opposed? Okay, go ahead. Yes.
So the second item, 7A, the statement, there are air in the tires. I move to strike the word R. Strike the word R and replace it with is. And insert the word is.
Under 7A.
Yes.
7A, yes. It
7A.
says, add the definition of operable as per the neighboring city that there are air in the tires. I strike
R,
R and replace it with is. So it says there is air in the tires.
Gotcha. All right, so I do have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Madero. May I have a second?
yeah,
Okay.
okay,
And a second from Alderman Fillinger to strike R and replace with is in the sentence that states there would now read there is air in the tires. All those in favor say aye.
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 CJ, can I hear you? Did you say yes? Did you say?
Aye.
Okay, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. And all those opposed? All right, that motion carries. Moving on.
No other items, sir.
okay, then I'll move that we accept the consent agenda as
Amended.
amended.
I will second that.
Okay, so I do have a motion from Alderman Rapino and a second from Mayor Pro Tem Madero to accept the consent agenda as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, moving right along. Agenda item 6A, the income and expenses for May 2025 will be reported by the City Secretary, Delma Doyle, with possible discussion and or action. Ma'am, you have the floor.
General fund. The starting balance is May 1st, 2025, that's
$500.
$572,616.31. Thank you, Mayor. Checks and balances, checks and payments cleared were $499,816.60. Deposits and other credits were $400,982.46, bringing the statement balance as of May 31st, 2025, $473,782.17. Going on to the auto fund. Starting out there, May 1st, was $33,480.39. Checks and payments cleared were $59,082.84. Deposits and credits were $59,082.84, bringing the statement ending balance as of May 31st, $33,480.39.
Just as a point of clarity, the reason why there's a deposit is because TDA for the longest time has had that account number. And so they make a deposit, we move it right back out. Fortunately, we are at the end of the program, so these should no longer be the case going forward. And to speak to ARPA, well, I guess it's not on the agenda, so. Never mind. But that's the explanation for the $59,000 credit and debit.
On the form, the CPA grant, the statement balance beginning May first for $15,564.20, and there was no activity, so the amount stayed the same.
This account will be going away because as I'm saying, TDA is done. And so once that is done, that's our allocation and that'll go back into our general fund. You then do have the budget with your current month. This is a year-to-date explanation. And then you do have the statement of activity detail, which does provide just a hair bit more information as to purchases. And I think, yeah, so if you have any questions.
So Mayor, I know it was rather late today, but I did send an email with several items highlighted on these last two documents you mentioned.
Okay.
So first, the statement of activity detail, that one, because there's only two real simple ones on that one. I'm just wondering, how come we're getting interest income on a credit card?
Yeah, so that is from, where's it at?
It's the very first item.
Yes, no, I was on the wrong page. That is from QT. I think it's like a rewards program.
So
that
a
the-
sports program,
yeah,
okay,
that the city receives for purchasing fuel.
okay,
Yeah.
nice. And then the other item is on page 5. We have an expense from Samsford Flowers. I was just wondering, is that for the flowers that we're having put in at the Sandy Oaks entrance area?
Negative.
No, it's the flowers, the mayor. Mom.
Okay, no, good, I'm glad with it. Okay, so that's still being done at no cost to the city then?
Yep.
All right, and then the other one, the other budgets versus actuals. Most of my questions on this are related to those, to the items where we are
Over.
over or close to. So on the second page under municipal building, we're like 90% spent on the city hall, but then you have two lines for the park and community center, both with $10,000 budget line. I'm just curious as the difference between those two, and if there's a plan, if there's additional expenses during the rest of the fiscal year that's going to exceed that 20,000.
So that's a great question. So the way I see it is the municipal building, park, community center are for expenses incurred at the on the buildings physically. So like the damage that we had at the restrooms, if there's any AC repairs or we need bug spray treatment, that's what we'll see the rest of the park, community center, municipal building fund go to. Obviously I don't foresee us having any damage, but we actually, to answer your question, the municipal building city hall, one of our ACs went down yesterday. And so that's going to be, I think about $1,000 to fix. So we will approach pretty tightly the municipal building city hall fund. So
What's the second park community center expenditure?
I
The
believe,
first one's for the building itself.
sure, I believe, and I could be mistaken, but I believe that's the line for when they make their purchases for the various activities.
For the very effective.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so then with the vandalism that occurred at the
Bathrooms.
bathrooms, we're probably gonna be maxing out that one, unfortunately, that maintains the building itself. Then further down, we have the municipal judge health plan. And it indicates that we haven't spent anything, but I believe the council voted that we were going to provide that. Is that just like an annual expense has just not come due? I mean, we're not scheduled to pay that yet? Is that why it's not been? It's just in the next section, third.
Oh,
from the
okay.
bottom.
Yeah, I mean, more than likely, it just has not come due, but we can certainly take a look. It could be,
Approved it.
yes, no, for sure. It certainly could be sitting in the other line. And I do have our team looking for those transactions to see if they're just not allocated correctly.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yes,
In
ma'am.
the next section, we have book subscription and references, which appears to be an $1,100 expense that wasn't actually budgeted for. What is that, and do we have those funds, where are they coming out of?
That's literally an, okay, yeah. What was that 1,100, Donna? Do you remember? Because we were just talking about it. It was, I couldn't remember offhand. Yeah, but we just had a conversation about it and we figured that was the best place to put it. But I can certainly circle back on that.
But it wasn't something that you had originally included
Right.
in the budget, that's why I was curious. And then just, what is G and A vehicle?
All right, so that's the Taurus that the city hall uses,
Okay, what does G and A stand for though?
government and administration.
Oh, perfect. Okay, and then I noticed in the next section, we have a post office box line item for $200. Do we have a post office box, but we haven't paid for it yet? So it's just an annual fee that we'll have to pay for at some point.
Correct. Which I wonder, I mean, do we necessarily need a post office box? Because we do get mail straight to you.
Right, so, but can we discuss that now? Because,
No, well, I guess not. I guess we can talk about it. And
yeah, so I would ask that we talk about that because we get mail here. I'm not sure why we do that. Before it comes due, if we could just bring that back onto the agenda to discuss.
Yeah.
And then,
It's a conversation me and Del have had actually about what's the purpose of it, because it gives us another place to go to that we have to conduct business at, and if we can get it sent here, why not? But we'll see.
yes, sir. And then on the top of the next page, I noticed that we have exceeded the budgeted amount for the workman's comp insurance. And we're not yet at the end of the year yet. I'm guessing that's because of the additional employees that we've authorized and we just had to pay more for the insurance.
That is correct. Yes.
But you've identified other places in the budget where that funds can come from.
Yes, ma'am.
And then payroll processing in the next section, we're at 95%.
Yeah, that's just a part of ADP, and I wouldn't say not necessarily understanding of what their fees were going to be, but just what they've increased to.
So we do anticipate going over this
Yes, ma'am.
for the last quarter.
Yes.
Okay. And then I'm also concerned with the utility section under electricity. We're already at 84% of what's been budgeted. And we still have the hottest months of the summer
Yeah.
where we'll have the air conditioning. So I just think we need to reevaluate that come next year and look at either ways to save electricity or increase that bottom number, because I'm pretty sure we will exceed in the last 3 months, given the heat.
The hot months. Yes, and actually we identified one transaction, I believe, that we questioned, so we're in the middle of discussing with CPS. We saw two month-to-month transactions of $9,500 or so for electricity. Yeah. And so we're just unsure as to where it's coming from. So that would take, a little bit off the top. So,
Yeah.
but it's already begun not so much the dispute, but the discovery process.
And then the next section, there are two items. One is 300% over
Mhm.
budget and the other is 106. And I'm not sure what they are, but they have to do with payroll expenses.
Yep. And so those are the employer tax. So the ER stands for employer, and TMRS. And so with those, I believe we're just not allocated correctly amongst some other lines within the budget. So Delma's going through those and trying to reevaluate, hoping to bring that down. However, I don't foresee it going tremendously down because we do have quite a few additional new employees. And we did agree to pay
And you figured out the budget before we
Right.
hired them to make sure that we had it somewhere in the budget.
Right.
So
Exactly.
just trying to understand what those expenses are because they are over our budget and just take it into consideration as we're working the budget for next year. Because I'm assuming you got to start that soon if you're going to get it done.
Yeah.
That's why I'm taking the time to go through this all now, because I know you're going to be looking at it soon.
Yeah.
And then under the animal control operations, the training and certification, that exceeded the budget, but I assume that's because we went ahead and set both individuals to that training in California. And allowed them to get that additional exposure and.
That is correct. It was to send one person because the other person had a scholarship.
Okay.
But I think we also did the ACO training sooner than what we expected.
Yeah,
And
plus
so-
the standard training, but that other amount is what pushed us over.
Correct.
We only anticipated, but that was a great experience based on the report when they came back. They seemed to really like that. Okay. And the next section under the police department, we've got two items that are more than 200%. So, one being equipment and supplies and the other being vehicle maintenance. So, what are we doing about this vehicle that's taking so much, maintenance? And do we expect the equipment and supplies to maintain that level, or is that just?
I don't believe that level for the maintenance, or for, excuse me, for the equipment supplies to be a standard going forward. We did have to purchase quite a bit new things this time around, especially with the addition of new officers being added. So yeah, that's one thing I am researching is I think we could still manage around the $30,000 to $45,000. I do agree that we went over budget on that one. And as far as the vehicles are concerned, that's difficult, right? Because they spend a lot of time idling, they spend a lot of time running hot, and we've had quite a few air conditions go down. We've had one transmission failure this year, and so I don't project a transmission every year, but maybe I should.
Given the age of the vehicle, I would just ask that you reevaluate the cost of maintaining those vehicles, especially since we purchased additional vehicles.
Of course,
Because we exceeded that budget by 255% already.
Yep.
And just consider that when looking at the budget for the next fiscal year.
of course.
And then on the top of the last page, there's litter removal. So I mean, it's not over budget or anything. I'm just wondering what that is. Yes, sir.
So what do you charge? What do we charge back for litter removal for? What's in that budget line item?
Taking it to
That's
the dump.
$3,000.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yes, sir.
And so what it is it's my dumpster, my roll off.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. It's definitely not over budget, just curious on that one. And then uniform expenses went over budget for Public Works as well. I know they're out there working hard and doing a lot of stuff. I just
Yeah.
that you make sure that we're properly considering the fact that they are out there working hard in the sun and doing maintenance all the time.
And I don't know if it's physically uniforms because it all is sent to us. And so it gets kind of blurred. So I can spend some time and go through that and make sure that not all of that is uniforms. Right. First aid uniforms, the carpets. So I mean, no?
Well, and I'm glad y'all brought that up because on the carpets and stuff, I was going through all the invoices that we discussed.
Right.
And noticed that they have been charging us, and I told them, I said, I replaced the rugs with our own to
Okay.
save money. Hand
So,
sanitizer,
yeah.
we don't need it, but they have been
Okay.
filling us.
But yeah, so then we can
So
go
we
through
gotta
that.
clean that up.
Yeah,
Okay, well, that's good. And then just a question, on what my last question, and again, sorry, taking so much time with details on this, but the GASB 54 assigned, it says 120%. And part of that is a $92,000 TDA grant expenditure that wasn't budgeted for.
Yeah, so that's for the remaining of the project for the drainage ditch.
Oh, the extra work that we added on.
Correct.
Oh,
Not all of it was for the drainage,
But some of it.
but
was.
some of it was. for
Just
that.
the same with the ARPA funds.
Correct.
Yeah, I thought that was.
The 18.5, I think was, oh, we just did that one. Yeah, that's right, the railing. That's why it was not.
The right,
Yeah.
right rail. So those are just expenditures.
Yep.
And that's why those went over. All right, sir, thank you for taking the time to address all of those.
Of course, like I said, I like financials, so.
And I know you gotta start that budget soon.
Trust me, the city attorney already emailed me. Any other questions?
If there's no questions, I move that we accept the,
So one other question.
Uh.
Are you making progress in addressing why the Quick Books keeps producing all of these gaps?
For this particular reconciliation report, no. That's why I provide the statement of activity detail, because that should have almost everything
I
that,
don't think we need this with all the gaps.
well, then we don't show the reconciliation. I mean, I
Yeah,
just,
fine. Yeah, with not showing that, because that's just, because I don't like having to cross-reference
Of
it. There's
course.
no value added in that document. Save the paper and just put all the other things is my only comment on that, because the detailed report is great.
okay.
Sorry to interrupt you.
it's okay, that's right. Okay, since there are no further questions, I'll move that we accept the financial reports as discussed.
Okay, so I have a motion from Alderman Rapino. Do I have a second? Second from Alderman Fillinger to accept the financial report as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, moving right along. Updates and announcements from Public Works Director Priscilla Schmidt with possible discussion and or action. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Public Works Department's been pretty busy with the vandalization at the back, the restrooms at the park. They, ended up spray painting both restrooms. It did a significant amount of damage to our restrooms, and I think we've come up with probably today, they just finished up painting the restrooms. And we come up with a dollar figure that is roughly anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 worth of damage. We just put a brand new changing station inside that restroom and, they broke it. That was almost a $300 changing too, $250 to be. And it's not reusable, they'll have to replace it. They still have to paint the floors, but we, got the restroom, at least one of the restrooms open. Because in the other restroom, there's a hand dryer in there that's been in there for probably over 30 years. And they actually work, believe it or not. They really do. Just gotta hold the button. They demolished it, but it still works. So we plan on building, with some angle irons, some, metal cages and anchoring them to the wall so they cannot damage a lot of our product. So, just been a lot of repairs, vehicle taken back and forth to shops and AC units going out on us. Was just told the community center has an AC problem, so I'll get on the phone with AC company, go take a look at that. It's just been project after project.
Do we still have game cameras?
Sir, we do. I'd rather not, discuss that out in the open. You have any questions about any security cameras, I would be more than happy to discuss that off the record. Just to let y'all know that we did, there is video footage of the vandals, I will say that much. And that's been turned over to the police department for them to look into it further. So. That's, I guess, pretty much about it for right now, sir. Oh, and there is one more thing I'd like to ask, hopefully on my next council meeting, would be interested, would really appreciate it if we could possibly purchase a new zero turn. Yes, we purchased one a while back, probably about 3 years ago. And we have 2 current zero turns, and the original one is when we were a city 10 years ago. And I would like to get a third zero turn. I don't know how much longer that one's gonna last us. But we do the preventative maintenance on it as best as we can to keep it up and going, but I would be like a council to be aware that I'd love to get 3 quotes and present it to y'all next council meeting if possible.
Any questions?
And also to let y'all know that I know, wait, hold on, sorry. In my budget, I do have some finagle room, and I'm hoping that I might be able to take some of my money out of my budget to purchase this and not take it from somewhere else. So whatever line items I did go over, but the line items I didn't go over, I'm hoping I might be able to stack some money from that to pay for it. I think the bad boy is looking at roughly about 13,000. And the bad boy is the least expensive, but it's lasted me 10 years, so I think, that's maybe the brand I'm gonna go with, and it's the least expensive, so hopefully it'll last me another 10 years of our purchasing. Anyway. And that's it.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, moving right along. Animal control updates, announcements, and presentation of monthly report from ACO Cunningham with possible discussion or action. Ma'am, you do have the floor. However, you do not have to speak to your numbers because the numbers were provided ahead of time. So if you want to, if they have questions about your numbers, they will present it. But if not, just give us kind of the lowdown of what's going on, what you're seeing, what you're needing, and then we'll move right along.
Good evening. So we have had several dogs leave. We had 3 leave for Canada. They made it to Canada and are now in their homes. we are seeing a increase in puppies and they would say that they're packs of dogs, but what it is it's male dogs that are not fixed after females. I do have several resources available in the front lobby, and I would hope that if anyone needs resources, that they contact us, so that we can help them find which one suits them best for their pet. I have been having a issue where a lot of people are not reclaiming their dogs. They have microchips, or I know that they belong to specific people and they do not come and reclaim them. In that case, it makes it really, really hard.
Are you able to find them or?
So,
If I may address, if they don't reclaim them, they have abandoned the animal. And that is a separate and chargeable offense under our animal control, ordinance. So citation. Secondarily, I believe you can also charge them with animal neglect. In other words, if your dog's out, you're not taking care of, you're not claiming that we know it's your dog because it's registered. Go through your ordinance and give them 5 citations. I'm serious, because we can either be serious about this, or it's all a joke.
So they do get cited for not coming and picking up their dog, because it does belong to them. If it's not neutered, if it's not up to date on its vaccines, they are receiving citations for not coming and picking it up. It does create a problem though, where I'm out of space with the dogs and I can't go pick up any more dogs. And I'm not sure on how we would remedy that situation, as the building is pretty, it's like a solid unit. But the dogs are moving. It's just, there's too many dogs, for the amount of kennels that we have. Public Works did build us 3 holding kennels for when they are going to be euthanized, or I have to kind of isolate them. And then they did reinforce the 10 by 10 because we had several escapes. The dogs ripped up the chain link and escaped. So we have.
Were they still within the animal control compound, or were they back out on the street?
So they climbed out over the fence. Even though it's got the barbed wire all the way around, they did climb out over the fence. And so that is an update that I think needs to be said. I'm not happy about it, but it's happened. These dogs are very smart, and they're very, some of them are very powerful. So they escape. But we haven't had that since they reinforced the 10 by 10. I haven't had any get out. It's just, I want y'all to be aware of that. Other than that, we did have a cat building. It's not a cat building, it's more of a cat room, put together. Public Works, did assist in installing a window unit AC in, the Big Barns building. And, I have the ability to temporarily house a cat if I'm needing to. It gives us the ability to try trap, neuter, release. But it's not.
It's very touch and go.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
very,
But do you have a vet that would work with you for the trap neuter release? Because we don't qualify under the San Antonio with our zip code.
yes. So, what I've been doing is we've been taking them to, SA Humane. And you have to be because we are in Bear County, they will do, trap, neuter, release. You go in, you have to take the course through, the
That
Feral
makes
Cat
sense.
Coalition, and then you can take, if you have a trap, you have to have it in a specific trap. And then you take the cat in, you have to be the first 10 people with however many, they have 10 slots. So they can only take 10 cats a day. So you have, let's say you catch 4 cats, you can take all 4 cats, and if they don't take all 4, let's say they take 1, you bring it, you take it, you drop it off in the morning, like 6 in the morning. And then you go pick it up that same evening. You bring it home, it stays in the cage for 12 hours, I think is what they said. And then you can let it go back where you got it from.
So it's very much in the works, because of limited spacing, right? We want to limit the number of cats that we pick up, to probably 2 per event. So meaning we find 2, we trap 2, we spay and neuter 2, we get rid of 2, and then we find another.
So this is only the city that can take it in and take advantage of this program, or is it anyone?
All citizens can take it.
Any citizen can take advantage of that?
Any person that's.
That's in,
The done through the TNR course, yeah. And it's, I've done it. It's just a video, online, so it's not very, difficult to do, but yeah, I got cats bringing kittens over to my property to protect them from all the dogs that wander around.
yeah, it's,
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we can expand it. But we would need a significant amount of space and possibly a program. So that it's not coming out of the budget for the dogs, necessarily, maybe a budget for the dogs, vet care, and then the cat
We do have a
care.
TNR ordinance,
That's another ordinance that needs to be addressed.
yes.
Yeah.
Because we don't even have that application for the TNR program, because I asked about that when I first got here.
And I think it would be good. I mean, we learned a lot. I think we learned a lot of lessons doing this set of 6 cats that we picked up. As far as timing and ability to get it over there, because it does take time and effort, right? They got to leave, you got to drop them off, then they got to go and pick them up. So it really takes half of your day to go and come as far as we are.
But
So,
you get there early enough to be the first 10.
Right.
That's why I haven't done it. It's not easy to get there.
well,
And-
and I think, but I also think that it has to, maybe we provide some way to ignite the citizens too, right? And hey, and if they don't want to do it, that's fine. Then we can only take our 2. So I mean,
We
I'm-
had volunteers who
Yeah.
were taking them.
and maybe we find them again, right? Maybe there are some people that are willing and able to, and we use the cages that we purchase, right? You know, I'm just saying, there's got to be a ways to do it to where it can't just be us, right? We'll provide maybe the transport, but you sit on the cat until you get it into the cage, right? And then we'll go pick it up. And just be aware, it may be a day or so before we do it, because we've already got 2 over there. We just don't have the room, but
So I think some of these council members currently here were part of the council back at the time when we had that citizens committee or group. I don't recall what it was, and they used, based on what I've heard, because I wasn't here back then, but they used the Brooks city-based,
they're
vent
closed. Yeah.
no, they're open again.
They're open again.
They-
Good.
They are.
They opened again, so I don't know if maybe we can revisit with them and see if that's an opportunity, and for those that are familiar with the program, yes, ma'am.
So Cassandra went by that location, to ask them about the trap meter release program. The only thing is that they do charge a considerably,
Higher.
significant more.
Higher fee.
Yes, they charge 67, whereas, SA Humane charges 25 a cat.
But I will say, the amount of time it takes you to go and come, right? The fuel, I think we can justify an extra $40, right? How much is it? How much is it at SA Humane?
$25.
25, so $40 more. I mean, I think I more or less know your salary, and I'd say the 4 hours that it's gonna take will make up for the $40.
Yeah, so it's up near the zoo in the middle of town. Yeah.
Fredericksburg and 410.
Oh, yeah, so that's a much longer commute.
Yeah.
The only thing that I've noticed is I wanna say we need an appointment with, DAPA.
And I think,
Not a bad thing.
Alderwoman, Walker was part of that program in the past, and I think it was an agreement where we had so many slots or something, ma'am?
Right. And we had volunteers that took them to the appointments and brought them back from the appointments.
So we had. a
And the
commitment.
city. paid
So let's
for
ignite the city, right?
Yeah.
And
We readdress this at a later point.
yeah, let's bring the ordinance up at the
Let's bring
next.
the ordinance up and talk
Because
about
what we really need to get into is the animal committee, which is inactive.
Yep.
And we really need to work on that.
Okay,
The TNR ordinance and the animal committee ordinance is what you're saying, sir?
We abolished the animal
Control Advisory.
advisory.
There was two
But-
committees and one was
but the-
abolished.
The duties of the Animal Control Advisory Committee were transferred to the Animal Shelter Advisory Committee, which is inactive, and
I'd say we just look at it and bring it up at some later time.
Yeah.
Mayor, both of those ordinances for review.
okay. Ashley, any other announcements?
Other than the cat building, room, I don't think so.
Any questions? ACO, Hanahan? Okay, thank you, ma'am. We will move right along to agenda item 9A, updates and announcements and presentation of monthly report from Chief Juarez with possible discussion and action. Chief, kind of along the same lines, you do not have to read through the numbers. The numbers are available. However, if they have questions, they will present them, but just provide us your updates as of today.
So updates, as y'all are aware, we are now one officer short. Corporal Castillo is no longer with us. I do have an applicant who I think is a really good applicant. I'm in the process of doing his background now. All of the stuff is sent off to Secure Share. Waiting for that. The other departments have 10 days to get back with me on that. I sent it off 3 days ago, this past Monday. So as soon as I get them all back in, I'd like to schedule an interview with him, bring him in, have an interview with a couple of council members. So we are accepting applications to fill the open spot that we have. Other new stuff, alert training. We'll be attending alert training this month. It's on a Saturday and Sunday. It's mandated that all officers attend alert training. That's the active shooter response training that they have ever since everybody knows what happened over in Uvalde. But it's been going on for years, even prior to Uvalde. So we'll be attending that, all of us except for Lieutenant Alvarez, because he's caught up on that training, but we'll be attending it, as well as Officer Porche and Officer Bettis. And other than that, no, nothing new on our end. Any questions on the calls for service?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
The one purple Castillo is still on the way. So I know, I guess he quit.
My bad, yeah.
I noticed that there were, a total of 10 crashes or traffic hazards, so I just want to know, no serious injuries or anything with any of those crashes.
So, no, there was none that were serious injuries. The majority of those were going to be traffic hazards, but for some reason, Bear County is now listing crashes or traffic hazard in the same line item. We did have more crashes this past month than we had, but the majority of those would be, traffic hazards.
All right, and then on your city ordinance violation, EMV, is that commercial motor vehicle? Thank you, sir.
I will say for the crash or traffic hazard with 10, I think as we get our new subdivisions here, and then the one on Lamb Road, that's gonna continually increase, so I foresee that. Anyone else? Do you think? All right, well, if there are no questions, we will move right along. All right, 10A, updates and announcements from Park Advisory Committee Chair Alderman Rapino with possible discussion and or action. Sir, you do have the floor.
Okay, the park committee met on June the 3rd, and discussion, we had some community people that attended the meeting, and one of the things that was brought up by this member was that he would like and I've already discussed it with Priscilla, that he would like the end of the trail cleared a little bit more, because some of the women that walk down there are afraid to go to the end of the trail because it's I don't know, not cleared enough. They're afraid something will jump out at them. So I passed that on to Priscilla.
I thought the trail was a loop. What is he considering the end of the trail? This
The
says,
very end, you know, it starts up right.
just the backside of it.
Yeah, the
Okay.
backside of the trail, yes.
With wood, yes.
Right, and that was his only caveat right there about things in the park. Also, we discussed the 4th of July, they're gonna have hot dogs and I think, did you, Charles, did you agree to cook? I can't remember exactly.
I think we have another individual volunteering.
Oh, okay.
I
That guy,
will
the
be
same
there.
guy that complained about the trail, said he would cook the hot dog, but that, you know, we'll have to see. Okay, and the ladies in the community center requested some stepping stones from the path to the smoking table because people are getting stickers in their feet, so I passed that on to Priscilla also. And of course, at that time, they passed on about the bathrooms, but Priscilla covered that already in her discussion. And also, the door to one of the rooms, the old lockup there was gone, but Priscilla told me that they've already replaced the door, so that will make the girls happy. Also, the air conditioner on the north side is not fully operational. In other words, it's not cooling down as well as it should. So I also passed that on to Priscilla. The next meeting is going to be July the 1st. I have since turned in my resignation as the chairman of the committee. If they don't find anybody, I would happily sit in for the next one if they don't find anybody else. I don't know what, I noticed that the mayor pro tem has put on
It's on the agenda, yes, sir.
the ordinance that has updated the original ordinance that formed the committee, which I have been on the committee since it was formed. But in the interim, and I don't know how this will work out, I had originally asked the mayor to put on the agenda and Charles also has co-sponsored with me to nominate John to be on the Parks Committee too. So, I'd like to bring that up now and ask if anybody has any objection or.
So I would ask that we wait until we get to that item, because I want to talk about the whole park committee.
Okay,
as a
and that's
whole.
fine. If you want to do it that way, I'm not opposed to that.
Thank you, sir.
So that's all I have.
Hot dogs, stepping stones, AC problems, end of trail clearing, meeting on 6/3. Next meeting is 7/1 at 5:30, right?
Right.
Right.
And Ms. Smith has addressed the air conditioning during our report.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure I got it for my notations.
Mhm.
Okay, anything else? Any questions for Alderman Rubino? All right, then let's go ahead and move along to agenda item 11A, discuss and or possible action on amending the personnel policy. Mayor Pro Tem Madero or Alderman Walker, do you want to provide an update?
Alderman Walker, please.
It's in the process and we should have something for the council in July.
Okay. Process. Okay, any questions, anybody? All right. Updates and update on property improvement plan provided by the property owner, residential address 3807 Waterwood Pass, San Diego, Texas 78112. The only question that I have for this one is, Mr. Reagan, I mean, why are we in conjunction with the 90-day, limit that we imposed? I mean, what would you rate your completion percentage?
Okay.
Yeah,
Mine.
or either one's fine. It's y'all's point.
Oh, the percentage?
Yes.
Um. About 85.
Okay. And are we gonna make the 90 days? Transparency is gonna be key, right? So if you tell me it's not, I can live with that today, right? But if you tell me after we pass, then now not so much we have a problem, but I want you to tell me up front, right? Like we're not gonna make it because we need more time. Okay, maybe we can work with you. But if you let the 90 days come up and you're like, hey, I didn't make it, that's not what we want, right?
Right.
We want to communicate with you back and forth. The information should flow freely.
So I know you've shown very significant progress.
Agreed.
So. And we're gonna continue. We're not stopping. So. A lot of work for one person.
But are you gonna make the 90 days or do you think you'll need more time?
I mean, I don't think it's gonna be like officially done in 90 days. No, it's a lot of work.
Okay,
So, and I've got John's come over and help me and, you know, we've got the fence gonna get started next week. So I could go along with the details, but
yeah, the fence is not part of the cleanup though, just the cleanup. You don't think you're gonna have all that stuff cleaned up in 90 days and you may need an extra week or two, an extra month? I mean, what are you thinking?
I know I'm gonna need extra time.
All right,
That's for sure.
that's what the mayor's asking, just to know now as opposed to at the end of the 90 days.
Right.
Uh,
And how much time? I can't answer that. Yeah.
May
I address?
We can't make it indefinite.
Separately, talk to the chief. Tell him right now. Tell the chief what you want to tell him and then he'll relay it.
I think
it's Bye. 30
days extension.
John, outside, y'all talk outside and then, sorry, go ahead.
This is all new to me.
Yeah, I had a question, just looking at your photos when you passed them around, you made a comment that you had you put the skirting back on the trailer, so is your plan now to rebuild on top of that flatbed?
Once
Or
again,
or
we don't
is
know.
it gonna go?
We really don't know what we want to do for sure, but I did speak to, Hector Hardo
Mhm.
just a couple of days ago, just to get permission to go on his property with Bobcat and start a fence. And, we talked about that and, so, and it's his opinion that we should build on it, so. But we still, not 100%, so that's why I put the skirting back.
So what I can do is have a building inspector come out and review and see if it is plausible to build on it and if safety wise, right? Because if it's not, I'd like to at least get you that information that you should not from a legit company that does this for their business, right?
So it's definitely. Everything underneath is perfectly fine, there's nothing wrong with the frame, except on the wing. That's it. So there's no reason to not rebuild on it if we chose to do that, meaning structurally.
Okay.
Because that part of the structure didn't catch fire, it didn't even get damaged at all.
Chief, did you have a?
So John recommends that, he thinks an additional 30 days should be ample time to complete what they're having to do. He's kind of familiar with what the city wants, and says he thinks an additional 30 days they should be able to complete.
Charles?
I don't believe you can rebuild on that base legally. The ordinance says that if the property is damaged, and I forget the percentage, but I'm gonna say 50%, then it has to be removed. Yeah. But again, we need to
Yeah, but it's not even regardless of what the ordinance says, if a building inspector says it's not good, so it sounds like we need to do both of those, get a building inspector to look at it and look at our ordinance to see what the ordinance says.
We need building inspectors, but
But we look at the ordinance first.
the manufactured home was damaged down 50%, it has to be removed. Or we need to readdress the ordinance.
Okay.
Because if we're not gonna enforce the ordinance, we might as well just,
Yeah.
whatever you guys wanna do is fine.
Which ordinance is that in, sir? The manufactured home ordinance?
No,
Okay, I haven't read that one in a while.
unsafe structure.
Safe structures.
Unsafe structure.
All right.
So
I
that's
just
the
wanna
reason
look-
that I'm asking you is that, so we don't run into these problems in the event that you decide you're gonna rebuild onto that flatbed, and we didn't take the proper precautions as a city. So, I mean, that's a whole reason.
Right, so. Not trying to debate, the last thing I wanna do, because I'm on the same page as far as safety. There are two factors involved. Number one, it was never determined 50%. That's number one. Number two, the frame wasn't damaged, it was only the top. So there is two different things there. There's a frame and then there's the home on it. So there is.
No, sir, it's either a manufactured home or it's a stick building. But it's, a manufactured home is a manufactured home. You have a partial manufactured home now. Okay, we don't need to debate that the frame of a manufactured home is less than 50% of the value of the manufactured home. Would it cost more than 50% to have that manufactured home rebuilt to the state, the condition that it was prior to the fire? And again, this is not a debate. We're talking about you need another 30 days beyond your date. And that's what we're discussing. I'm done.
Would it be fair to say, let's continue with the updates? Let's bring up the unsafe structure ordinance. Let's bring up the manufactured home ordinance just to make sure that we all understand. And then we'll assess whether the 30 days is gonna be enough to do what you think is the right thing to do and what we think is the right thing to do.
But cleanup has nothing to do with the rebuild, because the ordinance is just get it so it's a safe, not a health hazard. And that has nothing to do with the rebuild, so that doesn't have to be done within the 30 days. But yes, sir, I recommend we look at these ordinances and see before we spend any time with the building inspector and see what our ordinance do require and ensure that we're enforcing them appropriately and continue the updates. But thank you for being honest and letting us know that you do feel you will need additional time. I appreciate the transparency you're providing. So
John. Thank you, Mr. Reagan. All right, how she left. Okay, well, discuss under possible action on additional streetlights in Sandy Oaks based on the map provided by CPS. We will postpone this one until the next meeting, because I think she
it
left.
doesn't look like she's got all of it done either, looking at it from over here.
Oh, okay.
She's got about half the city done.
Can I make one statement?
Yes, sir.
We have 29 and a half miles of streets in San Diego. 15,000 streetlights, 1,500 streetlights. $10 per streetlight per month. We're already over our budget on electricity. At some point, we need to consider
How many more we take on?
the financial aspect of this. I believe every cul-de-sac should have a light. I believe every street intersection should have a light. I believe every bridge should have a light. I believe every curve should have a light and a reflector. But every 100 feet of those 29 and a half miles.
A lot.
Even every 500 feet, as CPS recommends, will be too much, but, yeah, until we get the whole city monthly recommendations, I don't think we can really evaluate it, because some of those streets I haven't been on. You probably have. You've been here a bit longer than me, sir.
I can guarantee you I've been on every foot of every street in this city.
Well, let's just make an action plan to try to close this out by the next meeting so we can start talking about where we want to cut. So I'll talk to Priscilla after the meeting and see if we can get our officers to do one more night patrols in those areas and just recommend where they can put up a light. And then we can try to start closing it out.
Yeah, again, it's a safety matter.
Right.
Okay. I personally have all my safety.
Right.
Like, so if somebody says it's dark in front of my house, well, you should put up a light.
Right.
Because silly me, when I bought my property, I know we didn't have sidewalks and we didn't have street lights, so. Yeah, if that was a killer, I would have not bought my property.
Right.
Buying a property and then say, well, I have to have sidewalks. Well, you have to pay for sidewalks.
Right.
I have to have a street light, but you didn't buy a street light. You bought a property. So,
Yeah.
you know, like I say, as we address this, we have to look at
Cost.
not just cost, but the safety of our citizens versus who's gonna pay and how much they're gonna pay. And like I said there, I know of some curves in the city that should have street lights on.
Are they marked on there yet?
They are, and they should also have reflectors to that. But let's address that next meeting.
Okay. All right, moving right along, discuss and possible action on ordinance 2020-170, now 2025-253, an ordinance declaring and establishing regulations for public health nuisance and providing for abatement, the second reading. I believe you should have the updated version.
All right, I move to accept the ordinance second reading so we can open it for discussions.
Well, second,
I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Madero and a second by Alderman Rapino to open it up for discussion. All those in favor say aye. Wait. Yeah, you're right.
I have to make the motion so we can.
Yes. So we have a motion and a second. It's up for discussion.
All right, so. There are several places. Oh, it's not in this version. It's in the version we moved, so that's good. So, paragraph 3, section 3, paragraph B1. The second line towards the end, the word or, the second word or, I move to strike that and then italicize the remainder of that sentence so that it matches the first portion. So currently it reads, the city may require the owner or occupant of any lot or lots to keep the same free from any garbage, trash, weeds, brush, refuge, rubbish, waste, junk, litter, or any other objectionable, unsightly, etc. So the second or
Gotcha.
to be struck, and then the rest of the sentence italicized to match
The font.
the font
Oh,
preceding the or.
gotcha. All right, so I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem. Do I have a second?
second,
And a second by Alderman Rapino to strike the or and italicize any other objectionable, unsightly, or unsanitary matter of whatever nature. All those in favor say aye.
uh,
All those opposed? All right.
Moving on to section 5. Section 5, paragraph C. I'm very line. Yes, so, if you go down the line that starts vehicle. So that reads, if the vehicle are parked in the outdoor storage area. Add the word, insert the word vehicle before parked, so that it reads, if the vehicle or vehicle parked and the outdoor storage area. Elsewhere, the term vehicle park is used. So again, insert the word vehicle prior to the word parked.
So I have a motion by the Mayor Pro Tem. Do I have a second?
Second,
And a second by Alderman Rapino to insert the word vehicle to read, if the vehicle or vehicle parked in the outdoor storage area. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
But
All right, motion carries.
All right, and then just an observation, as I was reading through this the other day, when I got to section 2, paragraph H, and read the statement is otherwise inoperable, that prompted me to look for the definition inoperable. We added the definition of operable to this ordinance, but we didn't add inoperable. So I would ask the city attorney, is it possible or does it make sense to add the definition inoperable and just say that that means not operable?
Yeah, that would-
So then I would move to add insert between F and G and re-letter everything underneath that in section 2, the statement inoperable means not operable. I haven't said it, if you have an opinion.
yeah, my opinion was opinion would be to strike. Semicolon or two within parentheses in if and otherwise inoperable.
Okay, but that's not really adding
We
inoperable.
described what operable is,
All right,
okay? Yeah, we've stricken the parts about the registration.
mhm.
If it tires are up, yeah. The motor starts and the vehicle moves. That's an operable vehicle, right?
Mhm. Well,
So I don't think we need, is it in otherwise inoperable, is wrecked, dismantled, or partially dismantled or discarded, that's a junk vehicle. If we're not gonna call it a junk vehicle because it's out of registration, we're not gonna call it a junk vehicle because it doesn't have a license. If we're not gonna call it a junk vehicle if it's movable, then why do we?
but it doesn't have to be movable. It has to start and have air in the tires. It
Okay.
doesn't have to move. And so it doesn't have to be, so it can have that condition and not be dismantled or wrecked or discarded. You can have one that is not wrecked, dismantled, discarded,
Okay,
and it's still inoperable.
Right.
My brother's truck's the front of that.
yeah, I'm just,
So it doesn't have to have a transmission.
It has to start.
but we're,
Can start without a transmission. Yeah.
Very few can.
Start.
Start,
Can all start without a
I
how's a starter cylinder, how's a starter motor gonna be connected to the engine?
connected to.
So again, I move to add the definition of inoperable in between F and G to state inoperable means
Not operable.
not operable.
All right, I do have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Alderwoman Walker. To insert in between F and G and relabel as appropriate, inoperable means not operable. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Aye. Nay.
All right, 4-1, that motion carries.
Sure. If I'm addressed,
Sure. You're still open for discussion.
when we define things in here. We're defining things. Particularly to an ordinance. Okay, in the general course of business. Inoperable. Common is something that's inoperable. If a term is not defined within the ordinance, then the court's gonna find the common usage of that word is what was intended.
Yeah.
But that's just me,
It's fair.
it's an opinion, but it's right along.
There any other discussions? Then I do need a motion to accept ordinance number 2025-253 as amended.
I'll move that we accept ordinance 2025 as amended.
I second.
Okay, I do have a motion by Alderman Rapino and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Madero to accept ordinance number 2025-253, an ordinance of the city of Sandy Oaks, Texas, declaring and establishing regulations for public health nuisances and providing for abatement as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, moving right along.
There are no requests about that.
Okay, time is now 6:40, right? Is it?
No, it's not.
7:47.
Don't need.
We are in a recess
Not required to have it there.
for 5 minutes, right? You said 5 minutes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What it is. Oh, yeah. Turn off your mic, Charles.
Good idea.
That's addressed.
Is it?
Yeah.
Nice, good.
I got it flexible.
So the year missing a.
All right, so that's good. So then we got it after the day. I need to talk to you after this meeting too about a text message I received from a concerned citizen.
What did I do?
No, well, yeah, it's from Tanguma's Post.
Oh,
Yeah,
good,
so-
Tanguma.
Okay, you got it. Snake pictures in his head, huh? I saw something she posted, it got real lengthy and so I just blew it off.
I don't-
I didn't finish. it.
Where did
She
she
was
post
bad
it?
mouthing somebody.
Where did she post it?
On,
Oh, I don't look at next door anymore.
She was bad mouthing, one of these guys that goes around doing home improvements and stuff around,
Oh.
went and did some work for her, she was unhappy,
Oh.
so she bad mouthed. But the guy gets, you know, a ton of good reviews. At least cut a tree from the, no problem.
You know.
Oh, shouldn't. He's a strange character.
Sandra, are you enjoying your summer vacation? Got the kiddos at home?
I mean, they're at camp,
Oh,
but they
yeah.
sleep in a little later. They have
A lot of
work
clever
around
people
4,
here.
So. I still have to look.
How old's your oldest one?
He's 9.
Oh, yeah, I got a 12-year-old. He went to Spurs camp
Oh,
last week. He had a
okay,
ball.
do you like
yeah.
it?
Yeah, he loved it. He got the Courage Award. He's not, you know, he's okay, but he needs to learn some ball handling stuff. He can shoot.
Nice.
Oh, he can shoot 3-pointers, 12-year-old. But he's not very good at handling the ball. But he's out there and he's hustling it. They gave him out of 200 kids, man, he got a Courage Award. So I think, hey, that's an award, man. You got
Yeah,
it.
there's a couple weeks I need to fill, like at the end of the summer. If we don't take a vacation, then I need camps to fill, and I was gonna put it in the sports camp for that week. Because there's really no other camps towards the end of the summer.
That's good. You know, it depends who's holding it. Like this one that he went to, it was all the coaches, not so much the players.
Yeah.
And some of them, the players actually hold, one or two of the players will hold the camp.
All that.
You don't know until you sign up. They'll do it.
Oh, okay, I thought they did mention which ones, but.
How many people?
I don't know, it's a couple $100, it's not. Might be 300. So many.
Yeah, there's some camps that are, I mean, they charge, you have to pack a lunch, but they'll charge you $40.
Yeah,
For the lunch.
yeah,
you know?
pay $60 for lunches as well.
Yeah.
They didn't want them to pack up lunch bag and go.
Mhm.
fast.
So right now, the one they're at, there's free, like early care and there's free after.
Can't beat that.
Yeah, for the night, I can leave them, take them early if I need to, or leave them. For the most part, I just pick them up. But yeah, otherwise they're staying in front of the TV.
Yeah.
That's what mine are doing now, that my grandkids, what they're doing now. The oldest one had a percussion camp. I should want, they had a week.
All right, I think we're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, my daughter's in a violin camp. right
Oh,
now.
really?
She's loving it.
I played violin.
Oh, you did?
I started playing when I was 6 years old.
Okay, she's good.
Yeah.
And
You
she
still play?
loves it.
I read notes, so I can play, but my problem is this right here.
Oh, you're from
It's real sensitive.
the.
You got a nubby too.
And actually, I got a, what do you call it, from the VA, they gave me a finger prosthetic, but it's still.
For just the tip,
It doesn't work well. It fits down to about your knuckles.
So do you have a good story behind it though?
Sure, I mean, if you want, I had a disagreement with a table saw, the table saw one,
My dad lost that exact same finger.
really,
I mean, just about the same tip.
yeah,
But his is because, you know, at the bowling alley, when they say don't put your hand in where the belt's turning,
Oh,
yeah, they really need to.
Here's the, I took that very.
No, I was putting a wood floor at my daughter's house and it was the last piece up by the counter and it was gonna be narrow, and I'm doing the last piece and the saw kicked because it's a small piece of tile.
You know, they make those pieces of wood to help
And
you
it-
push it
yeah,
through
it
so the
kicked.
finger's not there.
Yeah, it just laid open like a wishbone.
Okay, I promise not to talk.
You broke the rules and they let you do stuff.
No, this week it's,
out.
it's like a preview, like she's playing, she has like a little mini performance tomorrow and she had to wake up with her bag, but she's already asked for.
My instructor was, right
They
there.
just got one of the keys to my eyes on it, too.
Because- Yeah.
Okay, it is now 7:53. We are in session. Make sure you do have your mics on. The mics are hot. Okay. Moving right along, 12A, discuss and possible action on contracting with Verizon Connect to provide vehicle tracking, DVIR daily inspections, powered asset tracking, and maintenance tracking for coastal vehicles and equipment. Right. So,
So I have a couple questions.
Sure.
You're gonna explain this first. Okay. So it says vehicles and equipment. So what are the 13 vehicles and equipment that's going to be tracked?
Yep, so the 13 vehicles are the vehicles we have here. The 4 powered asset tracking subscriptions are gonna be the trailers that we have and the tractors that we have, two tractors. Two tractors,
So we have a total of 13 vehicles that belong to
City of San Diego.
Sandy Oaks, and then the 4 are the power.
Yep, and the DVIR are those, it's basically access to an app to be able to check in maintenance issues, to check in tire, like, you have to do a daily inspection on your vehicle. And you have to complete that in the app to basically start your day, right? And so that way we can stay ahead of tires and stay ahead of windshield wipers and stay ahead of, check engine lights and oil changes and things like that, that we wait on people to tell us. And their days are consumed by everything else.
We're just also making sure that they're doing that daily walk around.
Sure.
Well, for we can do
Are claiming to do the daily walk
It's
around.
only $314.
A month.
A month,
A
yeah.
month, yeah, so you're talking
Yeah.
$3,500.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's $314 a month.
I'll give you kind of an insight onto it, right? So Verizon came to us, they said, let's look at all your stuff. They looked at our cell phone package, they looked at our phone system here. And then they present the different things that they do offer. And this is specifically with Verizon. It is technically a contract, but in speaking with him, he did say it is month to month. And so if we decided, 6 months into it, we wanted to get out, there would not be an issue in doing it.
Why do we need to track our vehicle?
I think it's a good opportunity to really see that our people are productive.
If I may
Yes,
address,
sir.
again, let's reference next door. I saw Public Works in the police vehicle. What are they doing driving around in the cop car?
But that's not gonna be
Okay,
addressed
okay.
by a tracking system.
It will, because we can say, what day? Oh, yeah, it was on the way to the shop, and rather than tie up one of our very valuable police officers, we sent an assistant out of Public Works to deliver that vehicle to be serviced. Oh,
After
well,
we
in
do have other
California, they have to
employees
have an out of service
Mhm.
bike. Well, we're not in California. But legitimate, that has come up.
Countless times.
So we have other
I won't say
employees.
countless, but ever since we have had a police.
So within this city, we have other employees take the police officer vehicles to the shop.
That's correct now.
Okay,
Maybe Public Works or admin, just somebody who's available to drop off a vehicle.
Public
Yeah.
Works
So-
is tasked with overseeing.
okay, so why do we need them on the others?
Again, in a matter of knowing where our vehicles are, we don't have to do the tracking, right? Well, I don't know if it's something that you can turn off, but it's part of the maintenance reminders that you get.
Can I go ahead and say it? sir?
Sure, yeah.
Why is our public service vehicle, why are they at Blockbusters? Why are they at,
That's
Black
what we
Bear
heard.
Inn?
Yeah.
Well, they were at Home Depot when lunchtime came and they stopped for lunch.
But why do we need a tracker to do that? Why can't you just ask the employee?
Because employees are not trustworthy, man. You're acting like a city council person rather than a regular citizen who suspects you are pocketing $20,000-$30,000 a year out of your office.
Just a point of clarity, Charles is saying act as a resident, not you were saying that. And he's not saying they're not trustworthy, but the citizens may say so. That's point of clarity.
Right, so you don't think our citizens trust our city employees?
Correct, because I have had personally received calls that says, why is the city vehicle, I don't know, wherever it was. And I had to call around and understand why, and then that person feels pressured like, geez, I can't conduct our business without even being spotted. And I'll be honest too, I look at it as well when I'm driving around and I see Pleasanton in town, I see Floresville in town. What are y'all doing? What are you in San Antonio for? But we have to be realistic that San Antonio has a lot of the stuff that we need to get done. So these vehicles have to go in town eventually. I think it just provides a little bit of clarity for all of us to see where our people are, to make sure they're not places that they shouldn't be. And that's to include the police patrol vehicles, make sure that they're running around as appropriate, as according to their shift, and they're not just stationary for the entire night, right?
Okay, and then what about the power assets? Why are we tracking them?
I think that's more for theft.
It's real cheap insurance because we can track them and.
They're paying on it too.
Sure.
You're
Personally,
quite
on
often at it.
This is an app that we put on people's phones.
No, well, yes, they would be installed on their city phone to check on the vehicle to make sure they do their walk
And
around.
so if the vehicle doesn't move for 2 or 3 days, it's not gonna have any input on.
It
that.
won't have any
Okay.
record of driving,
Right.
but that person may pick up another vehicle and check that one in first thing in the morning.
So have you looked at the app? Have you seen it?
I've received a
operational?
demo, I've received
So,
a
I'm
demonstration.
saying, so you use a different vehicle, it's and we're like with the PD, they're not using the same vehicle every shift, are they? So they get in a different vehicle and they're gonna perform the inspection, they're gonna do a walk around inspection of this vehicle when they come on shift.
Yes.
And there's times when they're not gonna have time to do that.
Mm,
It's just, I was on the fire department.
Yeah.
For several years, and you come in, the first thing you do is inspect your vehicle, all your tools, all your equipment. I'm sure you guys do the same thing. You got checklists you go down. That's basically what this walk around inspection is. So they gotta sit there and actually input that the windshield wipers work, the horn work, the brake lights, the tail lights, the blinkers. There's a checkoff list. I mean, I worked out of motor pool for
Yeah.
the military as well, and that's what you do every day. You do that. I just don't see where they're gonna have time to do that.
How
It's
is
just gonna
that
be,
saving them anything over just a piece of paper that they're gonna check off?
Exactly.
If they got time for one, they got time for the other.
exactly. The
I-
chief can get a weekly report of his vehicles. I mean, and since if we had a motor pool officer, that's what that person would do. He'd be responsible for doing that and issuing vehicles, whatever, but you've got your vehicles, you know which ones are yours, so your officers come in, you give them a vehicle, you tell them, take a vehicle, maybe they take the one they want, I don't know, but the checklist,
Certifying unit.
basically, you got a monthly, a checklist, and you go down the list, tires got air, horn works, headlights work, windshield wipers, I mean, and you give it to the supervisor, and the supervisor maintains that. I don't think we need to go this far. And as far as tracking where people are at, I don't agree with that. I mean, we put trust in our employees
Sure.
that they're not, taking off here, going to San Antonio, run something and say, oh, while I'm here, I'm gonna run into Walmart and get me something for lunch. If it's their lunch break, fine.
Yeah.
They're entitled to stop if they're on their conducting official city business and it comes up on their lunch break. They're entitled to stop wherever. Secure the vehicle for
Yeah.
sure and get their lunch, but I don't
The-
think this, as far as this inspection thing goes, I just
Inspection
don't
part.
think it's.
Yeah, I think the inspection part or even the tracking was never really my intention. It's just part of the application. My biggest intention was maintenance, right? Many times. And it's been with this chief and it's been with the last chief. I'm getting wind of vehicles failing, like not because of due to improper maintenance, right? Tires are bad. AC's not working. Oil light's been on for weeks. Things like that.
Oh, that's
And I
important.
get
Yeah,
it.
that's checklist.
Expectation for each employee to do
Sure.
the inspections of their vehicle.
Sure.
So whether we give them an app or a checklist, just because we give them the app doesn't mean they're all of a sudden gonna start doing it if
But
they didn't do it before.
then the supervisor, myself, Public Works would receive maintenance reminders. So as it reaches a number of hours, as it reaches a number of miles, there will
How's it
be
gonna reach a number of miles? How are we
Driven.
gonna track the miles, number of miles driven?
through the OBD.
Okay, so
Unfortunately.
so if we put the asset tracker on, they'll be able to tell us how many miles it's driven, and then you'll get a notice to go inspect it.
To go inspect or to go in service, right? So if it needs an oil change.
But I read somewhere, and I don't remember where, that it's a requirement for the employee to inspect and maintain their vehicle. It's a requirement. And I don't know who maintains the Taurus that belongs here at City Hall, but I would assume it's one of the City Hall employees or yourself that's responsible for that. But every other vehicle is assigned to a department, and that department head should be responsible for making sure that this is being done.
Sure,
Exactly.
sure.
And knowledge of where the vehicles are. Because this is a, $3,600
Annually. Mhm.
every year.
Mhm.
For what benefit? To be able to address.
My biggest
Citizen-
benefit.
But if a citizen has a complaint and they're not gonna take our word for it, they are not gonna care whether we got that word from asking the employee what happened or whether we got it from the application.
Yeah.
And we're able to tell them. If the citizen's not gonna believe us, they're not gonna believe it.
Sure. My intention was for this service, again, the tracking is a separate issue. My intention for this service was for maintenance. Soon as that check engine light comes on, somebody's gonna get a notice, right? Check engine light doesn't always mean catastrophic. It doesn't always mean that the car's gonna run differently. All right, but what it does mean is that the vehicle needs maintenance. And if they're out there driving around, the light comes on, beginning of their shift, sure, they may say something. But if the car is not performing correctly, or if the car is performing correctly, oh, I can wait until the next day. And then I can wait until the next day. And then now we have a catastrophic failure because something wasn't reading correctly. And now we have a bigger issue. I just feel like we don't have, and I've tried to implement it myself via, hey, do your daily inspections. Does the check engine light come on? I don't know when the last time the oil change has been done. I want to say the F-250 was done last year.
You don't have a document for that to be recorded every time somebody drives it over to get an oil change? Because I know there's not someone out there under the hood doing the oil change themselves. they're
Right.
taking it somewhere, you got a receipt, it's in
Right.
our
Yeah.
finance.
The F-250 you're talking about, that V truck?
Yeah, which
I mean,
it doesn't
tell
have,
them that should-
it doesn't have 6,000 miles. So I know it's only had one oil change, right? Because they don't drive it very far. But by way of idle hours, it probably should have been changed already 2 times.
But the citizens already have a requirement, I mean, not the citizens,
Yeah.
the employees already have a requirement to do maintenance and inspections on their vehicle.
Yeah.
A warning light is an indication of maintenance.
But to pay
Okay.
3,600 a year to give you a warning when the light comes on, just means that.
Because
somebody
now,
didn't look-
now the
look at it.
supervisor can say, hey, why aren't you doing your daily requirement?
Where's the log? Why isn't the supervisor looking at the log and saying you didn't log your inspection on the vehicle?
I mean, it's fair. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying we're putting a lot of trust in people that are pretty busy. Whereas the application can tell us what we need to know right then and there. We can take it out of service immediately and get it maintained or serviced. But it was just an idea, so. It would take a motion, and if there's any other discussion. All right, do we have a motion?
Move to just table that item.
I second that.
All right, I have indefinitely?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a motion by Alderman Tremblay and a second by Mayor Pro Tem to table the contract with Verizon Connect. All those in favor say aye. All right, moving
Point
right.
of order, Mr. Mayor.
Was that? Yes, sir.
The motion to table an item automatically means if it's not brought up at the next meeting,
Hmm.
it's dismissed.
Gotcha.
You know, I was.
All right.
So,
I do want to jump around just for some sensitivity to people that are here for specific items. To agenda item 12E, discussing a possible action on a home permit application at 4703 Waterwood Pass, Sandy Oaks, Texas.
So, a
78102.
point related to this jumping around.
Mhm.
As I was going back to the historical documents for the two ordinances I have on here,
Mhm.
I noticed that meeting minutes don't reflect when you jump around. So that requires listening through the entire recording to find that specific location.
Okay.
So if you're gonna jump around, I would ask that the meeting minutes just indicate that after we finished item 12A, we went to item 12, whatever, just to assist for anyone that wants to go hear this discussion later on.
Okay, gotcha. And also put it that at 8:06 PM, we are gonna jump to agenda item 12E.
Thank you, sir.
Gotcha. Okay. So let me pull this up. Okay, so for this item, we did receive a manufactured home permit. And this gentleman, Mr. Gonzaga, has provided everything that we've needed to review the application. It is very well maintained. It is being installed by a reputable installation company. He plans to meet all the ordinance requirements for the home. The only thing is that this manufactured home is a 1992, and our manufactured home permit application clearly states 5 model years or newer. So by definition of the ordinance, I would not be able to approve it unless an exception is able to be made to allow this manufactured home to be installed. So that,
So 2 points on the application, sir. First of all, question number 2 was not answered.
so there was a manufactured home on the site and it is replacing it. Has not replaced it already, but it's gone. So what is that, a yes or a no?
So that would be a yes, it's replacing one, and when was it removed? Would be my.
By the previous
recommendation.
owner. By the previous property owner.
Okay, so once he became it, then no.
and the answer was no.
No, because when he became in possession,
Right.
then there was no manufactured home. And the second point, on the state of ownership and location, the manufactured date of this manufactured home is December 9th, 1991. It's not a 1992, it is 91.
Oh, yeah, 12/3/1991. That is correct.
So
Or was that when it was, well, I guess, but it can,
Date of manufacture,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
12
you're
of
right,
9,
you're right.
1991.
You're right, I see that now.
So what's a month?
Okay. So it is in 1991.
okay.
You want to go first?
Well, I think. Do we need to move to the discussion? Or shall we just? carry
No,
on?
it's just,
Yeah.
it's just that.
There's no motion required.
Yeah.
Okay. And forgive me, but I don't think this is actionable tonight without some research. That I don't feel qualified to do. I don't know that the ordinance allows us the flexibility to make exceptions. So if we want to do that, we need to do that with the ordinance. However, Tom, I haven't seen pictures of the home. And going through the permit process, a licensed manufactured home transporter setting up a home has to do it the state standard, so they're not throwing junk down the road. When we see the Freddie trailers coming in here, they're not being towed by unpermitted load conditions. Okay? My brother-in-law's got a fifth wheel, we're throwing it in on Saturday night. That's what we need to deal with. I don't think 5 years is a reasonable line in the sand as to because I know manufactured homes that are 20 years old, 30 years old that look as good as they came off the lot. Mine's 15 years old and it's not looking like the day it came off the lot. So I think we need some flexibility in that ordinance.
There is an exception rule in the ordinance, however, it does state if it is to remove a structure and to erect a new structure, right? So in that exception line, if it clearly states if you remove one to add a new one, it does not indicate that it has to be a certain model year newer. But that's for an existing owner.
I think we're looking at two different things there. I think that exception is when you take out a mobile home, you can replace it with a manufactured home. And the ordinance doesn't allow us to change zoning to, if there's a mobile home there, we're not allowed, we, the city, are not allowed to change the zoning so that you can't put a manufactured home in place of a mobile home. Okay?
Okay.
Because in some jurisdictions, they have tried to do that. Okay? It's rated for a manufactured home, but they grandfather in existing mobile home, and we may have some out here. But the tornado comes through and city council says, well, no, it was for a mobile home. We're not allowed manufactured home. Well, you can't do that.
Okay.
But and I apologize because my sympathy's with you, and I think you have a lovely home there, but I'm not sure that we have the authority under that ordinance to make an exception.
So we need to revisit the ordinance.
Ma'am,
We need to revisit the ordinance is what
I
we're
think
saying.
we need to revisit that ordinance. And do we want to build that kind of flexibility into us?
I have some points not related to the ordinance.
What is your
That need to
opinion?
be considered when you go to talk about the ordinance.
But well,
I think it was-
I've made my statement, it's,
I would like to first give, the homeowner some idea of when we could act on this, because he was here at the last meeting and he's anxious
Yeah, he
to
was.
get his home moved so he can get his family here. What I would like to do is authorize the mayor to make the exception based on his interpretation of the ordinance. Rather than having to come back and 2 weeks from now, and we still got this gentleman sitting here waiting. He's waiting to move his home. I'm sure he's paid for it. And he's got the installer waiting. And again, like you stated, that we've seen the pictures. I think he's done due diligence as far as bringing in a good looking home. So that's my thought is that we authorize the mayor to approve the exception to the ordinance and we move forward.
I think there's more we need to be concerned about than the exterior appearance or even the interior appearance of it when you're walking around the home. He's not asking for a waiver of a year or two. He's asking for a waiver of over 2 decades. And we just recently, last year, made someone take their manufactured home out of the city when he moved it from one lot in the city to his lot. And we didn't make the exception. So one, we're going to be establishing a new standard here, and we need to rewrite the ordinance if that's what we want as a new standard. But our concerns need to be more than just what the manufactured home looks like. It's a safety issue. This home was manufactured in 1991. The ordinance, the HUD code, which is Title 24 of the CFR, Part 3280, if you want to look it up, has had so many changes, with the latest being in April of 2025. But some very, very significant changes were made in 1994 after Hurricane Andrew in order to ensure that manufactured homes could withstand stronger winds. And that's just one example of the multiple updates to the HUD code. So is this manufactured home compliant with the current HUD code? Is this manufactured home have the integrity of the structure? Is there structural integrity of this? What's behind the walls? Not just did they put a fresh coat of paint on the walls? It's more of a structure thing. What if we get the high windstorms we have come through here? That can be a safety hazard because we need the integrity of the systems and the structures, rules and laws associated with systems, plumbing systems. I mean, the size of the doorway going into the bathroom is a safety issue that's been changed over the years. There's multiple things not related to how pretty the home is. Structural integrity, system integrity, HUD code must be considered in evaluating what kind of manufactured homes we want in the city. That is my opinion.
So in this particular case, are we willing to do an inspection of it to let it in, or is that something that the
I don't think
homeowner
the
needs
city
to
should be
provide?
responsible for this because it is not our fault that his realtor lied to him. This is an issue between him and his realtor. There is absolutely no reason why the realtor can't reach out to the city. My realtor did it before I moved in here. I knew who Alderman Fillinger was months before I bought my home because my realtor took the time to reach out and chose not to just give me what information she thought was accurate. She did the research and Alderman Fillinger was very receptive to her contact. So I don't think the city should take on the responsibility of compensating someone for their realtor's mistakes.
So what are we requesting that this individual do?
Well,
There's no way
something
that
else to
the
address
guy's
is-
place is gonna meet the standards of 1994.
No.
It's not gonna happen
Charles?
Yeah,
unless he retrofits the place.
and I understand
I
what
believe
you're saying.
in you,
I
what you're
understand
saying.
the HUD codes are updated. I also understand that was specifically done for the damage done by a hurricane. We really are not susceptible to hurricane damages here.
Agreed.
But that's just one example.
We are susceptible to tornado damage, but in that case, a brand new manufactured home
Not gonna
is not
make it.
gonna survive it. Okay? in Florida, because of the hurricane, they will not allow an older mobile or manufactured home to be moved on the highway. Okay? Texas, in its wisdom, has not outlawed a 1990 or 1992 manufactured home from being on the highway. They don't consider it a safety risk, or they would have banned transporting them. And again, the transporter is going to crawl up under that manufactured home before he hooks his rig up to it, because if it falls off the axles, that's on him. The person installing it has to do it to state standards, and within 5 days, a state inspector will be out here and he'll be crawling up under it to make the foundation sure that the foundation and the anchoring system is as required by Texas code.
Do they affect the integrity of the systems and the structure within the manufacturer?
Do we do that with a brand new $250,000 stick-built house in this city? No, we don't.
No, because we assume it complies with the HUD code at the time that it was manufactured, and that's why we have an ordinance that says
I'm
5
not saying
years.
that. I'm saying, okay, I'm gonna say it bluntly. I'm saying we have people moving portable sheds from Home Depot out here and living in them with no permits required, no inspections required, in violation of state safety and sanitation standards.
Then why aren't we enforcing state standards?
Let's talk about this manufactured home, because that's what's on the agenda. You may find a co-sponsor to converse about that at another meeting.
And I did, just to your point about the installer and the mover, Mr. Gonzaga did send me their license number, and I did research it through the state of Texas. They've had no recent violations. So they're doing everything within proper code, I guess you could say.
But my concern is they have no requirement to ensure the integrity of the systems or the structures within the manufacturer.
I think they do, because once they put it on the road, they're responsible for it.
But that's not the piping in the
That's the-
bathroom, the
well,
piping
sure.
for the toilet. Is
But
that
that's
their
the-
responsibility?
The
The pipes are
integrity
coming.
of the building is their business, right? Because as soon as they put it on the road, which is one of your
The
questions.
structure and the system.
The structure and the system is gonna be the concern of the owner.
Because once I buy my stick-built home and the plumbing has an issue, the system, it's on me to fix, not the builder after a certain length of time.
We have a requirement in our ordinance for 5-year-old manufactured homes for a reason.
Yes, I can address that also. It was the requirement of the subdivider when this was originally divided out here, as a requirement for, in Waterwood
40
Pass,
years old.
that your manufactured home, if it was not new, could be no older than 5 years old. Back in the 70s. Now, when Waterwood Pass was built, it was a showplace.
Because I moved here in 1990.
It had a marvelous clubhouse, it had a swimming pool, it had a gated entrance with a guard on duty.
So you're saying this
24
city
hours
just
a day.
passed the ordinance because that's how the Waterwood HOA had
I think
the rules?
I think it is, well, that's how we've always done
Were you on the council at that time?
there.
You
No.
can confirm
wasn't.
that was the conversation.
Oh,
But we're off topic. What are we gonna tell this home?
Yeah, let's move on and figure it out.
well,
what we're gonna do.
I've said all that I want to say. I think it's time that we officially address it, but in this particular case, if Alderman Tremblay would like to make the motion of his opinion, then I would second that motion.
I would too.
Well, the motion, I moved initially was to authorize the mayor to review the mobile or manufactured home ordinance and see if there's anything in there that will allow us to approve this individual's, request for exemption. And then in the same action, allow the mayor to approve the exception if he deems so.
And I would second
If
that.
the ordinance says that, we can do an exception to the policy.
I'll second, Charles already seconded.
Okay, that's a mouthful, so only 1 second. So I have a motion by Alderman Tremblay and a second by Alderman Fillinger to authorize the mayor to review the ordinance and see if there is an exemption possibility within it, and then to authorize the mayor to enact the exemption and authorize the application for the installation of the mobile home at 4703 Waterwood Pass, Sandy Oaks, Texas 78112. Sound right? Fair?
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
So,
Aye.
Right.
just to confirm, you can only do the exception if the ordinance says that we have put into the ordinance, if we've written in the ordinance the ability to do the exception. You can't read the ordinance and say, there's nothing in here about an exemption, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Am I understanding that correct?
The first way you explained it is how I
Okay, so if
interpret
you
it.
read something in
And
the ordinance that says an exception is authorized, it's always been there since the last version, then you're allowed to make the decision yourself. All right, thank you.
All right, let me do it again. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
All those opposed? All right, that motion carries. We'll
Look
talk some more.
on your face there.
I'll talk to you.
Sandra, is there a problem?
I was going to suggest, and if the ordinance was in conflict with either state or federal law, that could also be an exception, but I was gonna look to see if the ordinance has a severability clause, and that would allow it. There was a manufactured home bill that had gone through the legislature. It was passed. It has not been signed by the governor yet or vetoed by the governor yet. So whether that bill becomes law is still up in the air for a few more days, a couple more weeks.
Will that impact our ordinance?
It could possibly, I haven't read through the bill very thoroughly, but it could affect, I just pulled up the bill. If you want, it's House Bill 4214.
Okay.
So there is, I just was thinking it wouldn't be limited just to what is specifically in the ordinance as an exception. Since our ordinance probably does have that severability clause.
So you're saying that the mayor has to consider the state and local ordinance in addition to ours? Is your
Yes, so I was
to Tremblay's motion?
going to suggest, regardless, having this ordinance come back to council at some point to even give council the flexibility of an exception. If
Yeah, we need to add it.
I think we need to look at that ordinance, but I also think that as the de facto planning and zoning commission, and as the de facto variant commission, we probably have that authority. As long as we don't conflict with the master plan. The master plan just rates his lot as being an R1 lot.
Right. Okay.
Okay. let's
Do we
get
need
this
to move on?
moving.
Motion we need to have.
No, if we can just, you can
Doesn't the mayor just always do that? State and local ordinance in the town?
It's way too much to chew on.
Yeah, well, the
Right.
severability clause, it just talks about courts, invalidating or declaring it unconstitutional, not, but we do need to take state and federal law into account regardless.
We always need to do
Yeah.
that. But again, de facto, a city ordinance is assumed to be legal until the court overturns it.
Yeah, but how old is our ordinance that we did it? So she's just suggesting, as our city attorney, she's recommending that
2020 ordinance.
Alderman Tremblay add to his motion that the mayor take into consideration, in addition to any exception clause that exists in the ordinance, any state and local law as well, that applies to the fact of the Just her recommendation as our city attorney. That's all she's saying.
And probably have the ordinance come back.
I think we've already decided that, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we'll consult more about it and see if we are within our legal limits to do that. And then we'll bring it up for further discussion, the actual ordinance in the next meeting. Okay.
Never mind. I'll go speak to the gentleman.
All right, let's see. All right, so now, Mr. Gonzaga, you're good. We'll touch base. If you want to stick around, you can. If not, we'll touch base tomorrow.
Yeah, can we?
Yeah, if you want to stay, that's fine. But we're gonna continue on with our agenda.
Okay, or you want to talk to me after?
I can call you, or you can stick around. It's up to you. So,
I'll stick around.
all right. All right, so going back now to 12B, the time is now 8:32. Discuss and or possible action on ordinance 2021-181 Citizen Complaint Review Board. Mayor Pro Tem Madero and Alderman CJ Walker, you do have the floor.
Alderwoman Walker.
I just wanted to bring this back because it was supposed to be reviewed in May, and it was, and then it was reviewed again in August, and nominations were made. Obviously, a lot of those positions and roles can no longer be filled. So I don't think it's actionable today, but we do need to have the council members bring nominations for the way
Well, the
it's
mayor sent
written.
out the email, so maybe folks have, because he sent out soliciting.
Yeah, and the chief did recommend that Officer Palomares fulfill that
Right.
position.
Right. Does anybody have nominations? I know, I
We don't have members sitting already. I mean, we have,
Well, the previous mayor pro tem was on the board,
Was the alderperson.
right? Was the alderperson on the
CJ was a
Yeah.
So we
citizen.
need a chair, we need a co-chair, we need at least one citizen. And one of the nominations was not included.
So I wrote down what you sent me in that email, CJ, if you want me to review that. So you were appointed as a citizen and you no longer can be because you're now the alderperson. John Crickmore has 1 year left. David Wilson's term is expired. David Jones has 1 year left. Castillo, as the police officer, is no longer here. Michael, Public Works, his term is still good. And then the previous mayor pro tem, Grace Alvarado, is no longer with us, so we need a new alderman.
Except for one correction. David Wilson was reappointed August 22nd.
So we just need one citizen then,
So
someone
we
to
need one
replace you,
citizen.
one alderperson.
Reaffirm with Mr. Crickmer, Mr. Jones, and Mr. Wilson, if they're interested. But still interested, but we need one citizen. We need a chair, potentially a co-chair. We just mentioned in the ordinance. Officer Palomares. And then the employee previously was Michael Avendata.
So Officer Palomares, are you aware of this nomination? Thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah.
So, well, then since we've already got that one, then can I move to nominate Officer Palomares, CC Palomares, to fulfill the police officer position on this board?
Sure.
Okay, so I move to nominate CC Palomares
I'll
as the
second.
police officer.
All right, I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Madero and Alderman Rapino to appoint Officer Palomares to the CCR, the Citizen Complaint Review Board, to fulfill the police officer position. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
all right,
All those opposed? All right, that carries.
And then I would move to nominate CJ Walker, instead of as a citizen, as the alderperson and chair of the, review board.
I'll second that too.
All right, I have a motion by the Mayor Pro Tem Madero and a second by Alderman Rapino to appoint CJ Walker as the alderperson on the Citizen Complaint Review Board. All those in favor say aye. Yeah,
Discussion first.
yes.
Alderman Walker, are you willing to take the position?
Oh, yes, I will.
Thank you.
All right.
Vote.
All right, let's do the vote one more time. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, right?
So if I'm not mistaken, then, Alderwoman Walker, we're missing one citizen, for the committee. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then,
And then
since those other ones were just reappointed and we just did their background check, do we need to reconfirm with them?
I think we just touch base.
I think, yeah, just communicate with
Just
them, right?
communicate with them.
Yeah.
And then, so again, I don't have a nomination, Alderwoman Walker, I don't know if you did or any of the other members for a citizen to fill that last vacancy.
Not at the moment.
No. We can bring it up in the next one too.
We can bring it back and just ask that everyone go, look into trying to get that, seventh person for that board.
Everybody just involved on next door, so offer it up. Right there.
Yeah, put it on next.
Yeah.
Who wants to volunteer?
Okay,
If you're not a felon.
You have to have a background check. That might scare some people away.
Yeah, for sure.
all right, so let's move right along to agenda item 12C. Discussion or possible action on ordinance 2019-136, creating a park advisory committee. So well, actually, I'll leave it up to you. The floor is open.
Right, so I have a few things that I want to talk about on this one. So this ordinance, the current version of the 2019-136 was passed in June of 2019. And then it was, at the following meeting on the 11th of July of 2019 as well. 7 citizens were nominated for the committee. So, that is one of the items that I want to talk about in regard to this. Of those 7 members currently appointed, only, Ian Garza is still serving. So, and again, this ordinance, and this is a topic I want to talk about, has no duration for their terms, and I think we need to add that. But I would like to move that Ann Garza be, remain on the park committee. I do have 7 folks, and I'll go through each one individually, and then again, it says a minimum of 5, so other folks can nominate others as well. And then talk about the other issues with the ordinance, if that's all right. So, first would be, yes, sir.
I do want to say, so just as a reminder, the committee chair has stepped down,
Yes, sir.
Alderman Rapino.
That's the point.
And I do want to say that they recommended John Crickmer to be appointed to the Parks Advisory Committee.
Next on my.
Okay, good. And I think you were gonna be on the Parks Advisory Committee, is that correct, sir? No,
Yeah.
right, he's already on there, right?
Yeah, he was on there.
Okay.
I don't know why you thought the others were, because we had recommended other people and the council had.
Well, I don't know
approved
when they were appointed or anything in there. I didn't go through every city council meetings, but I didn't see it anywhere
Everybody.
after the
it. Ray Lynn
2019.
was on there, so was,
What document appoints these members? Because the only place I found anything was in
the
the meeting
council
minutes.
approved all of them.
So, right, but it's only documented in the meeting minutes. Should this be documented formally in a resolution or an ordinance?
No, they were always just always just approved in the council.
So, right, but there's no meeting minutes produced in order to be able to track this information. There's no website.
Well, it should have been in the meeting minutes, just like.
Right,
In the council meeting.
no, but so that's a separate topic, but
Mhm.
if we can just figure out the minimum of 5 people that we need on the council. And then, I would ask the city attorney, can we just nominate them and then document it if it's approved, or is there some way that we need to appoint it by resolution or ordinance or something?
But right now, we had 5, but except I'm not there anymore, but there was Ray Lynn,
So
and,
that's not my question right now. Now, my
Oh,
question
okay.
to the city attorney is to
oh,
appoint.
I
these
understand what
people.
your question is, yes.
Right, how do we need to appoint them?
You can do it by just the minutes of the meeting or just by council action, which is reflected in the minutes meeting. A resolution does help, locate them easier, I find, but that's not legally required.
It's not required. Okay,
And that's the way we've always appointed them, by just
then,
nominating them and having council approval.
okay, but then we need to follow, the requirement to do meeting minutes and document who those members are that are attending and who the members are that aren't attending in the
In the
meeting minutes
meeting
from
of
the
the
park.
council meeting,
No, in the committee.
The Park Advisory
Yeah, the
Committee
committee meeting, I mean.
is supposed to have meeting minutes, so I'm just saying that would help us track this.
Oh, well,
So-
they used to do that,
so-
but then,
I think council actually approved, we don't need formal minutes because
yes,
we,
Then let's address it in here as an item that was changed. So if we
But-
could just decide in this committee, this council, who we want on this committee, formally document it, and then address what's wrong with this ordinance. Which apparently is the meeting minutes aspect.
Okay, so what do we have, who do we have right now? We have,
So I can give you the 7 names of the folks that I spoke with today or this week in terms of this. And Alderman Rapino may tell you that they are already on the committee, but I reconfirmed that they still wanted to be on the committee. And those names are Ann Garza, John Crickmer,
yes,
Raylan Rogers,
yes.
Gloria Gonzalez,
she's Sarmento, but yeah. Or is it the same one?
Gloria,
Gloria.
Sarmento.
Sarmiento.
So got, well,
Is it? I mean, I don't, just making sure it's the same one.
it is, but she has a hyphenated last name, so I
Okay.
Gonzalez. Sarah Reyes. Yolanda Parsons. Dory Gillum and Veronica Salazar.
all those,
Right, I went to the community center and the people that are
well,
there
they can
participating in
be
the
on the
activity,
committee,
I asked.
but they
was
weren't
interested.
on the, they weren't.
Exactly, so.
Dory Gillum,
Dory Gillum,
Gillum. You're fine.
Okay, they
And
can
then what's the
work,
last one?
right there.
if
Veronica
they're willing
Salazar?
to be on the committee, more the merrier.
That was my thought, and that's why I went to the community center and just say, hey, interrupt your regularly scheduled program to tell you about this event and find out if anyone was interested. So, based on what you're saying, there were some added from that initial 11 July meeting, and I'm not sure who they are because I, again, didn't go
And
through everything
Charles
to track
too,
that.
Charles is on there.
Yeah, so, and then Charles, so which of these are you saying we don't need to vote on to add to the committee?
Raylyn, John, and are the 3 that I
No, you
know.
need Charles, I mean, you need, to vote on John, because I was gonna bring him up today.
Oh, that's
Right,
right.
so we need to vote on John. Crickman.
Had been on it, but he
Yeah.
dropped off.
Right, so
I was bringing
Ann,
him back.
Raylan,
but
and who else was already on there?
Braylon and,
Gloria? Was Gloria already?
Gloria, yes, and,
And that's.
Charles.
And Charles was already on it.
So then John, Sarah,
had
Yolanda,
5.
Dory, and Veronica.
Counting me.
All right, and Sarah Reyes is the young lady that's teaching that,
Amagurumi.
yeah, that stuff. And her
Right.
husband comes to these meetings sometimes, so she's very much involved
You
too.
know, the more we get on there, the better.
Absolutely. So do I need to move for each one of these individually, or can I just move for these remaining?
Yes, you need to move for all of them, except for
But
John, I
individually,
mean, except for Charles.
individually, or can I just make them?
You can make a general motion.
Just do it by a list.
Yeah.
Okay, I move to add John Crickmer, Sarah Reyes, Yolanda Parsons, Dory Gillum, and Veronica Salazar to the Park Committee.
I'll second.
All right, so where is that? Hold on. All right, I got a motion by the Mayor Pro Tem Madero and Alderman Rapino to appoint John Crickmer, Sarah Reyes, Yolanda Parson, Dory Gilliam, and Veronica Salazar to the
Parks Committee.
Parks Committee. Are there any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right.
Okay, then a couple things within the ordinance itself that I think need to be addressed is that there's no duration for these terms. So, I think that we need some sort of termination, maybe sort of like we do with the others, where we just number them 1 through whatever, and odd number ones get replaced or renewed on odd number years, and even numbered positions get
You know-
replaced or renewed on even number years. So it's not an indefinite service.
Well, it doesn't have to be indefinite because anybody can, resign whenever they want to, but I'll tell you about that because I think, we don't need a term limit on it because it's hard to keep people on the committee.
Okay, so no term limit, but just indicate in here then that this is, they serve until they resign.
Right, yes.
Okay, just to make it clear in here that they have the ability to resign, and they
Right.
resign by notifying the alderperson.
Right.
Can it state that?
Or may be removed by a vote of council.
Council,
Yeah.
it says on there,
That it should be,
they serve, doesn't it say in there that they serve at the,
No,
it
It
doesn't?
does, at the pleasure of the
It
council.
does say that,
Yeah.
say that, I believe it does.
Yeah, it does.
well, then I think we just need to get annual review of the list. And because if they serve at our discretion, then just an annual review.
so Alderman Rapino, do you think that makes sense to review the list annually?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so then, I would move to add to section 2 that the city council will review the list in June of every year. And that the members can resign at any time.
All right, now,
I'd like to,
go ahead,
Before
Joe.
someone seconds it, go ahead.
I'd like to discuss that before we go to vote.
Oh, absolutely. Then-
Okay.
Well, you gotta wait and see if someone
Right.
seconds it first.
Why don't we do this
I do have a,
at the annual election canvass? Why don't we review all committees?
It's a lot for one budget. That's why I did it in June.
all right, so.
For one agenda.
But no, the canvass meeting, traditionally, all we do is the flag, the canvas, and go home. So.
I don't know what that is.
If
Canvassing the
we're
vote.
looking at new elected officials, then let's also look at our appointed committee annually. We've not reviewed any committee.
We did. We looked at the Citizens
CRB.
Complaint Review Board in May,
That,
and it's required to be looked at every May. So I think if we just have a committee reviewed various months throughout the year, that way we're not trying to do everything all at once.
And I think the chair would be knowledgeable as far as, about 5, 6, 7 people, who are members, but only 3 are showing up. So I have three that I see are vacant. The chair should then approach
So
council
no
that you
need
need
to
to have.
review, just have the alderperson will make a recommendation to the
Should be the
council.
chair's job to
Yeah.
ensure that the
Does
members.
that make sense
That's
based
what
on your
we've done
experience?
before. If somebody didn't show for 3 meetings, we brought it to the council to remove them from the committee.
All right, then I pull my motion, no one seconded it, so I can do that. And then, I instead move to add that, the committee members serve until they resign or are removed by the city council.
And one other thing, who's gonna take over as chairman?
One thing at a time.
Okay, all right, I just wanna bring it up so that,
Valid point, yes.
All right, so I have a motion by the mayor pro tem, to allow the committee members to serve until they resign.
Add that to section 2, that they serve until they resign.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't specify this.
Yeah, to add it to section 2, to allow our committee members to serve until they resign. Do I have a second?
Are removed by the
no,
council.
second.
Or removed by our council? And then I have a second by Alderman Rapino. All right,
Did you have a discussion point on that?
No.
No, okay.
okay, all those in favor say aye.
I,
All right, all those opposed? Okay,
And then the requirement in section 3 to do meeting minutes. It seems to be based on the conversation and Alderman Rapino's comments that there's not really a need for a second meeting minutes because that information is captured in the city council meeting minutes.
Yeah, I usually take notes and I express it at the council
Absolutely.
meeting, so, and I don't take detailed notes because It's usually what I express when I'm asked to,
So then, I would say that I move to strike section 3, requiring that there be a member designated to take meeting minutes and present it to the city council. And instead change section 3 to state that the, alder person who is,
The chairman of the council,
the chairman of the council,
got committee.
the chairman of the committee provide a report at the first council meeting of each month. In section 3 instead of what it says now.
Okay, so
I
that,
would modify that to the chairman or his designee.
Oh,
If we
yes,
do have a vice
absolutely.
Chair in case of disaster.
Mayor, I do change that, please, to say the chair or his designee.
okay, so I do have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Alvarado, Mayor Pro Tem Madero, excuse me, to strike section 3, allowing for meeting minutes to be taken and instead insert to allow for the alderperson or their designee to provide a report at the first meeting of the month.
Actually, it says the chair, not the alderperson. I said alderperson, then he corrected me and said the chair.
So to provide for the chair or their designee to provide a report of the meeting at the next city council meeting.
Yeah.
On that one before he does the, is that good the way I made that motion?
Yes, I like that.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 and the current
All those opposed?
designee was Ann.
And
She is the current designee.
So if you
Okay.
can't come, she comes
She
to bring.
She's the current, right?
Oh,
now.
the current co-chair
Yes,
appointed by the city council.
yes.
How do we?
all those opposed? Sorry, I just didn't hear it. Okay, all right, thank you.
Go ahead.
Do we need to specify how we're going to track who these members are?
If I may.
Please.
Okay, I would recommend that under that, till they resign or they're removed. They may be automatically removed after 53 consecutive meetings, just like we are.
Yeah, that's what we did.
That after missing 3 meetings, the chair could be able to come in and say, I'd like to remove.
The chair can do that after meeting one, missing one, but are you saying you want to make it automatically?
I want to make it mandatory if you miss 3 consecutive meetings. Unexcused absences.
Three consecutive unexcused absences.
That you will be removed.
That has been the practice. Not codified.
Make it official.
So what we're gonna do right there, let's get it all together.
And that fits under section 2, you say, sir?
Yeah.
Section 2.
I would think under
Yeah.
the qualifications or.
So-
Purpose.
Can you restate your motion again?
Heavens knows.
I'm sorry, I was interrupting you, trying to understand what you were saying and.
A member is
I'm not-
automatically removed if he or has missed 3 consecutive unexcused absences. But
Unexcused me, has
unexcused, yes,
three,
has 3,
Consecutive
Consecutive.
unexcused absences.
I'll second that.
Okay, I got a motion from Alderman Fillinger and a second by the Mayor Pro Tem Madero to add to section 2 that after 3 consecutive unexcused absences, the committee member may be removed.
Shall be removed.
Shall be removed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Right,
So, and my only other concern, and this would be something for Alderman Rapina to address, is in section 1, it talks about what they're supposed to be doing, the Park Advisory Committee. It says that they're supposed to be advising the city council on operations of the city park and recreational activity and solicit funds and donations for the maintenance and operations of city park and recreational activities. Shall advise the city council on the adoption of rules and regulations necessary to plan, promote, supervise, and regulate all recreational activities to be offered by the city and recommend uses and purchases for city park recreational activities. I'm not sure that, I think you're doing most of this, but I don't think you guys do solicitation
No.
of in donations for the maintenance and operations of city park and recreational activities,
we
since we
haven't-
have a budget now.
We didn't solicit funds, in a way we did,
Walmart,
yeah, we,
Home Depot,
Oh, yeah.
AT&T,
we begged
we
for
have, we have,
stuff.
we solicit not necessarily funds, but service in kind.
Yeah,
Okay, so you do feel you're doing these things?
yeah,
And is there anything that we need to add to this section one that you're doing in addition to all of this stuff?
Make a bigger coffee can for donation.
All right, then, other than the new chair, I have, nothing else that I wanted to discuss in terms of this ordinance.
Just to clarify that in section 2, the last sentence where you added until they resign or remove, do you want at the pleasure removed? Where it says committee serve at the
Members of
pleasure?
the park advisory serve at the pleasure of the city council and shall receive no compensation expenses unless otherwise provided by this ordinance. I just wanted it added to the end that the park advisory committee members will serve until they resign or are
Oh,
removed
so
by,
separate sentence.
as a sentence, separate sentence, yes, ma'am. Followed by the sentence that Alderman Bellinger, stated.
Okay.
So if Alderman Bellinger is already on the committee, then as a council member, then do you want to just be the chair of the committee?
I would serve until November of 2025.
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
All right, so I would nominate Alderman Fillinger then to serve as the chair of the committee
I'll second.
until such time as he doesn't run for reelection.
Let's let her take a nomination.
He just doesn't want to go to the meeting anymore.
Okay, so I do have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Madero and a second by Alderman Rapino to appoint Alderman Fillinger to serve as the chair of the Parks Advisory Committee until November. All those in favor say aye.
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 Hi, I'm sorry.
All those opposed?
My only concern with this is how does someone a year from now going to know who the 9 members are that we just appointed? How can we?
We are posted in the community center, the members of the committee.
Or what about on the website? Is there a park website? I would recommend we post it on the website then, because
It's not completed yet, but yeah, there's a number of pages involved.
that way folks have other ideas and they don't want to commit to the committee, they can still go see, hey, here's the people you can talk to.
Right,
Okay, so it doesn't need to be part of the ordinance. That was my only other concern.
Yeah,
Email me that list of them. If you still find.
Well, the mayor should put it in, I mean, whoever does the meeting minutes should put it in there, but I will send you the email of those 9 members. And I will collect the phone numbers for those that I do.
Please,
Okay,
although I already have some,
yeah, but, it's fun.
you know, a better list would be better.
I will email it, sir. Thank you.
Wrong with him,
I'll do meetings, but
all right, guys, I think we're,
these people can still,
all right, we're gonna move on. Is there any more discussion?
No.
Okay,
Well, sir, I move to accept to authorize the city attorney to make the approved amendments to ordinance number 2019-136 and provide it to you for and to accept these edits and provide it to you for posting under the second readings portion of the website, so we can bring it back as a second reading.
I'll second.
it needs to be posted 2 weeks before the meeting, right?
Yes, sir.
All
And bring it
right,
back as soon as it's reached that 2 weeks.
Do we need a second reading on this? Okay, we
does
need a
it have
second
to have
reading.
those?
why can't we just wait?
Does it have to have?
That would be a second motion. That would be a second motion, yes, sir.
Good.
Because I can't do the motion to authorize the attorney to accept this as the first reading.
There's no fines involved there. Does it?
Right.
No, there's no.
Yeah.
But can I say to waive the second reading at the same time I'm making this motion, is my question to
We
you.
can waive it when we do the first reading.
You can just waive the second.
Within
reading
this,
and then
okay.
approve
Well,
amendments.
sort of change my motion then. I move to accept to authorize the city attorney to make the amendments the edits approved to ordinance number 2019-136. And to waive the second reading of this, ordinance so that you can post it to the city website, once those approved updates are made.
I'll second.
Okay, so I have a motion by,
Is that the right way to do it?
Wait, I was gonna
I-
let
I-
them restate it.
Normally, we amend, bring it back to council for approval. If we waive the second reading, then we'll post it immediately.
Then it's,
But do we have to bring it back with him?
no, you don't have to bring it back.
Right, but from this time, he's saying that we should just authorize you to do the edits and then bring it back for the first reading at the next meeting instead of considering this the first reading.
No, this is the first read. So if it's approved as amended, then it gets revised and posted.
Okay, thank you. So no changes to the motion, so.
okay. So the motion by Mayor Pro Tem Madero, and did you second it?
Yes, I did.
And seconded by Alderman Rapino, was to authorize the attorney to make the edits as necessary and to, feel like I'm cutting it short, and to waive the second reading.
To accept the ordinance 2019-136 as amended, authorize the city attorney to make those updates and waive the second reading so that the ordinance can be posted as soon as the edits are.
All right, to accept the ordinance as amended and to authorize the city attorney to make the edits and to waive the second reading. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Anything else on 12C? Okay, so moving right along, 12D. Discuss and possible action on a budget increase for animal control to support operational functions. Alderman Tremblay, Alderman Pillager, you do have the floor.
Okay.
And I give all the direct line.
Thank you. The reason I brought this up was, I was, glancing at the social media page and saw a post, from animal control that they're in desperate need of all these supplies, cages, shampoos, just a whole shopping list of them, blankets and bedding and all that. And I had it just kind of raised, my eyebrow a bit, and I, made a point to call our animal control officer to kind of feel her out as to why we have to reach out to the public for supplies. And she did say that, you know, the classes that they've gone to, that they preach that other cities, they ask for donations and do, you know, they do take in donations. But my concern was, so exactly like the shelter is in disrepair. And I suggested to her that a lot of these things that she was listing, that she should be considering, you know, having some bench stock, some that will last her a few months. And so the question was, what would you need? What does she feel she needs to get her through the rest of the fiscal year? Now, we're at the halfway point. And I'm looking at some of the balances, and I mean, they still have an equipment and supplies under and I'm guessing that's animal control. They still have a bunch of money there. So I'm just wondering, how are we looking at this, and why are they needing?
I just want to,
Yes,
just
Steve.
hang on. It's now 9:04. Alderman Rapino did have to step away from the table, but sorry, go ahead.
My take, and I co-sponsor because I believe anytime a council member wants to speak to something, we should speak to it. But I approve of, like every other city I'm aware of, anything that can be donated, that money can go somewhere else. Our animal control officer told us tonight they have to stop picking up animals because we don't have enough facilities to keep them. If the donation covers operating costs, maybe we can put a little more capital into containment facilities. So. And we're almost 3/4 through the fiscal year. We're well past the halfway point. So we, you know, I'm fully supporting animal control. But they do have money in the budget. They're not running particularly short for this time of year, but I encourage the soliciting through every means we have to encourage people to, if you have an extra old blanket you're not gonna use, bring it down and let one of the dogs sleep on it. If you have a leash from a dearly departed fur baby, bring it down and let's see if we can use it. If you feel led to bring 50 pounds of cheap dog food in, then bring it. Because any solicitation we receive is that money can go to operations rather than support. But that's my take on it.
Do we have the ability to realign the budget,
and
Mayor,
that's
from
what
some
I
of these
was-
other items to
well-
like rebuild the facility?
And that's the biggie is the containment facility. I mean, she
I saw the
sent some
pictures.
pictures around. It's looking pretty bad. And I know we always talk about, if we had an inspection, we'd fail it. Well, I think we've known that for some time.
Yeah.
But,
I think that's
and
why
I
we-
do, I'm looking at for the containment, facilities. I mean, they've used 65% of what they had available. I'm just thinking they need to, if we look at other areas within the budget, what do we need to do to bring that containment facility up to par? All the areas that are all chewed and scratched, is there some other type of material we could, cover those areas with where they wouldn't get torn up? I don't know what you could put in there, what's
What
legal.
about a grant to help build a new one? Because I know you did some visits to some other locations with our animal control officer and found some really nice ones that you thought would be good. Is there some sort of grant program or something we might be able to leverage to help us
So
do that, to
when-
increase their budget?
yeah, when I talked to those people out of Atascosa County, it was really a time when they were hustling and bustling with the Eagleford Shale, so they were getting a lot of tax revenue. So that's how they really funded that. I don't know if the same grant that applied for Red Mountain Road or for the park can be used for the purpose of building a facility, but it certainly should. If we're gonna want to make a true dent, somehow or another, we need to be in alignment with Bear County. Are you good? Oh.
No, Charles.
It's now 9:09 and Alderman Rapino has come back. But Alderman Fillinger has stepped away.
They'll do a tag team.
9:09, yeah. So one good idea that I've had was but I've been told is to align with Bear County to have them help us offset some of the costs, which also means that we would take in some dogs from Bear County, right? Not so much just the ones that are here, but it's how you get a proper.
We can't fit our own dogs. How are we gonna take in their dogs?
Hold
Will they,
on,
will
hold
they
on.
help us build a new facility?
Yes, if I could finish. So yes, it's not have them bring dogs to here. It's have them give us money to build a facility that can hold 50 dogs to where we can house the few dogs that are here and receive dogs from the outside, right? So it would be a 50 dog capacity building and not, a 10 dog capacity building. But that also means because we're getting their money, we'd have some obligation to serve the county as well, right?
Will we outline what that obligation is? Like 50% of our capacity has to be able, they have to have space to give us X number of dogs a year. and we
Right,
have
right,
the
of
space
course.
within our animal
Not
control
here.
yard.
It would be built into the park more than likely, because that's the only other available land. And I've talked to our contractor, our engineer, and I mean, that a building of that capacity with a proper, facility in the front to check in customers, to have cats and dogs in air-conditioned buildings for adoption and
And in the-
strays in the
to
back.
increase adoption.
It would be, I mean, upwards of $500,000, right? Just to build the building, let alone fully furnish it and.
And Bear County will do that.
Well, no, I'm just saying, I don't know if that's a possibility for their grant. But we may have to come out of pocket to match some of that so they can have an incentive to give us that kind of money to build the facility. Right? So my
Yeah,
point
well-
being is,
I
Before
think,
before we cross that bridge,
Sure.
we need to fix up the police
Yeah.
department with an impound lot where we can start generating some funds rather than keep sticking our hand out
I
and trying to
agree,
get it from
yeah.
somewhere else.
Right.
What all I'm asking for, and this part of the, or my agenda item is to do some type of, investment into the facility that we have to get it looking halfway decent, make it safe. I don't think it's even safe for the animals in there, the way they're tearing that place up.
it's now not,
bring
it's
a
now,
contractor that can actually fix it up instead of
Exactly.
having Public Works just do.
I don't know that what public.
it's now
Works can do with it.
9/11, Alderman Fillinger has arrived.
I'm not sure what Public Works can do. Let them look at it.
I think the
If
one
there's
thing you have-
something that they think they can do with it, and then next year or something. But I think our focus, yeah, everybody wants a larger facility to put the animals, but I think, and I've talked to the chief about this too, getting a little off track, but we need an impound lot before we build an additional dog shelter or animal shelter.
Yeah.
That way we have something that's gonna generate some funds for the city.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't invest in it. What I am saying is that building was never meant for strays, right? That's why it gets torn up. Because you have dogs that don't want to be there,
That,
right? Not dogs that were trained to be there.
that's a breeder's kennel.
Exactly. So it's never gonna be able to withstand. If you go to any shelter, it's all brick and cement. Because you want to isolate dogs from each other. You want to keep their noses away from each other. You want to limit the amount of exposure each dog has to each other.
So if we cut the areas that are torn on there, the ones that are all beat up, if we put hardy plank on there, would that help rather than?
Hardy
just
plank, I
wood
think, is porous, so
porous?
that's the
So-
problem, right?
I mean, some has already investigated some of the things that need repaired and the best ways to do it, some of the materials.
Well, that's what we need, and that's what I'm trying to get funding
Get the
for.
funding.
Put it over to animal control so that they have the dollars to get this done. We're not waiting until next
So
year.
you're saying you think we have some estimates from Ashley on what it would take to?
Yeah, I think this is a conversation that needs to be had with Ashley's involvement, because I'm pretty sure she has already investigated a lot of this, right, Chief?
Yes, she has. She's gotten several different estimates. It's up there, right? I mean, it's not a cheap, or a low cost facility. They're up there, but she got several estimates that she was able to find where, where in some kennels, they're charging like thousands of dollars to get, very few kennels, and then she found some that will work just as good for a fraction of the cost. But she did, and she came out with, and I believe she presented it to the council already before, did she not? The proposals I think she had like 3 different proposals, 3 different facility type things. And it's not, I want to say it's not plexiglass, but it's like a plexiglass that divides it up so that they can't touch each other. Yeah, she's already gotten proposals and estimates on what it would cost to make a facility of, say, 10 kennels, a facility of like 20 kennels. We have all that.
And I think she already looked into the materials to
Right.
make this one that we have suffice until,
Well, she
Another
also found
facility is
some
brought in.
where we could. I guess we could put it together, right? In
Right.
other words, instead of hiring somebody to come out here and put it together, you can order them, they'll get it shipped out here. And then Public Works, and I told her, hey, our guys, we'll go out there. and help you
Prefab.
help it as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
prefab
Mm.
kennels. And they were a lot cheaper, but they meet the guidelines of what's supposed to be now. How long will they last? Don't know, right? I mean, you get what you pay for. But yeah, she has estimates on different types.
For that portion, I think we need to probably wait into the next fiscal year. I'm just concerned about getting this one somewhat repaired.
Right, but he
And
says
can
he
we-
has estimates on that.
She has quotes on.
Have you
repair.
seen those quotes? Just
No,
to get
not
this
on
one?
getting it repaired. I
Mhm.
know that she had estimates on getting new kennels, right? So the
you
repairs,
see-
no.
Have you seen one with?
I haven't actually seen them. I know we discussed it, that she had already gotten some ideas because one of the issues is she has to be able to quarantine dogs every now and then.
Right.
Our facility is not set up for a quarantine, but there are kennels, there are ways to handle that. And she has already looked into some of that.
Yeah, I like move to, return to this item next, meeting, so I can get with Ashley and get
Right.
some numbers from hers. We can possibly work something here before year end. It's just repairing the facility we have. So that'd be my motion.
A second.
Twelve B, right? All right, 12B, moved by Alderman Tremblay and a second by Alderwoman CJ. The motion was to postpone until the next meeting to discuss with Ashley.
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed.
And Mary, you'll make sure that you'll take responsibility to make sure Ashley knows that we need her at the next council meeting.
Yeah, I will bring to her. Yeah. Okay. All right, 12F. Discuss under possible action on pursuing a grant by the U.S. Department of Justice to be completed by Sustainable Foundations. So just to give you a heads up, we were made aware of a grant that is coming due that we can apply for to provide 2 more additional officers to our City of Sandy Oaks Police Department. I do believe there's a need for it to have additional coverage for some shifts to have a backup. One thing to recommend to remind the group is that there is a 25% local match. And the 4th year, Chief, is it right? The 4th year?
Right.
The 4th year, we would be on the hook to pay their salaries for at least a year. If we decide we could not afford that, then we could move along from the officer, if I'm not mistaken, or no.
No.
So we're just,
Now, if the officer left on their own, that's one thing, but no, we would not be able to just say, okay, grant's over, position's closed, we need to go find another job. We have
but
to
it's
go
grant
up
funded.
For the first, 3 years. On the 4th year, we have to provide the,
But-
money for that position.
But it's a 25% match, right?
Right.
So there's 4 years, 25%, right? So we would, or it's year 4. So it's either way, it's 25%. So on the 4th year, it's still a part of the grant funding, right?
That's not what this says.
I don't know. I mean, at
That's-
least that's how I'm
that's
interpreting
the
it.
way I understood it. I understood it like a 25% match,
Right.
right, for the first 3 years. And then the 4th year, you're responsible for 100% of that officer's salary.
Which
No.
is still 25%.
No.
Yeah,
Remember their salaries.
$100,000 over 4 years is $25,000, correct? So on the 4th year, for year 1, it's still $25,000. So I mean,
Why is it only $25,000 if we're not getting a grant money in year 4?
No.
This says it's a 3-year grant.
right,
I'm
and-
confused.
So total is at the end of the 4th year, when you complete the 4th year, you would have paid out, if it was $100,000.
Right.
You would have paid out $200,000. 25,000 year 1, year 2, year 175,000. 25,000 year 1, 25,000 year 2, 25,000 year 3, and then.
If you paid them
100,000
$100,000.
For the 4th, correct, if we paid 100,000.
Right.
So it
And
would
this
be
doesn't
170.
say anything in here about the 4th year. We have to keep them on for year 4. To find out that,
Yeah.
Either.
so that information is missing from
I
this
think it
write-up.
needs to be clarified.
And the clarification may not come quick enough because we have to the 21st, I believe, that this grant closes.
No, we need to apply for it and then we can
But we
always
have to
turn
commit
it
to
down if we
paying
get.
$2,500.
3 officers' salary.
Only get
Two.
2.
Two.
Too.
Would only qualify for 2 based off of the population around here.
Okay, so we would qualify for 2.
Doesn't say anything about the full
It's not
year.
a-
That's good enough.
The City of San Diego it says the city of San Diego may apply for up to 3 full-time entry-level sworn officers based on demonstrated public safety need and budget capacity. So there's something else that says we only qualify for 2.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, the way I was explained to it earlier, well, yesterday actually, is, Department of Justice goes based on. So even though the average ratio of police officer per citizen is 2.5 for every 1,000 citizens, they don't go based on citizen population, it goes based on department size. Since our department was at 6 people, they're saying, well, you can put in for 2, you can't go put in for another 6 and just double your entire police department.
But either way, we would be on the hook for the 4th year and potentially, obviously, for more.
If we pay a guy $100,000 a year, we're actually gonna get $75,000 grant.
Correct.
We're gonna pay 25,000.
Right.
Okay,
No, we don't have to pay 25,000, we have to pay 25%, so if it's.
It's still 25.
If it's 100,000.
we're
Talking even numbers.
Okay.
our hypothesis is $100,000 a year salary,
Mhm.
okay?
We should be basing this on patrol salary.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah.
So 100,000 is really.
Yeah, but
not-
he's using round numbers
Right.
to understand the impact.
Okay,
Make
All right.
code.
patrol officer.
Double that.
$50,000 a year.
Right.
Okay, so we're gonna pay 12.5 grand,
12.5.
and we're gonna pay 12.5 plus,
Benefits.
well, the second year, we're gonna pay 12.5 plus whatever percentage.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna pay, that's what I'm saying, each year, it's gonna be a little bit more money we're gonna pay. And then in the 4th year, we get that whole bill. And I don't read it here either, but according to the chief, we're not gonna have a choice about, hey, the grant money gone, your job's gone. So then, there's some grants,
Some grants allow you to do that.
some grants, it's way, when the money's gone, it's gone.
We also have to look at the growth of the city. I mean, we, in the long run, for 4 years from now, what's our budget gonna look like in 4 years? Look what it's done in the last 4 years.
Yeah,
It's increased.
And we
And
wouldn't
when
want
they
to
say
get rid of
fringe
them anyhow.
benefits, I'm assuming that means like the insurance and
Yep.
all of those things, okay.
If I could, what I would like to say is whether we get that new division annex or don't get an annex is not gonna make a difference in the police department's response. We are going to have to respond there. We're gonna be the closest ones there to Bear County. I would have loved to have gotten 4 more people, so I can have 2 people on duty per shift backing each other up. So I don't have 30 minutes from my officer be sitting at a location on a family disturbance waiting for Bear County to get there. Well, that's not gonna happen. But if I got 2, I could have a swing shift on either shift. But it comes down to safety of the officers and it comes down to safety of the citizens. We're gonna, that place is coming and it's coming.
Right, and if we get that tax revenue from there, this is not gonna be this
Yeah.
won't be a big,
But if we don't annex it, we don't get
you
their.
got it, and
Well,
we've got to.
we're running off subject here.
Yep.
Right,
Let's talk about this grant.
the officers are needed with my.
Understand, but once again, we're looking at. Okay. Your concern is that subdivision back there.
Well, my concern is the officer
Right.
safety, it's a growing city.
I understand that, but let's be real. There's 75 building lots back there. Right. Okay. Actually, it's 74 building lots back there.
I didn't know it was that big.
Okay. But we have that many open building lots here, and it's not gonna be 100% full the first year, the second year, the third year, the 4th year, or the 5th year. All right, now, I will also say this. For every house that goes back there, 2.5 people. So 10. The houses back there, we're gonna have another 25 people up and down Hardwood Path every day. Okay, so, yes, we're gonna be caught with the enforcement part of it. Because we're not gonna tell Bear County, no, we're not
I
responsible.
don't know, if it's
Because
fair to the citizens.
they are in our extraterritorial jurisdiction, even though San Antonio won't grant us the right to annex it and would be right to property. So, and negotiate San Antonio, and give them nothing. Okay?
Different topic.
Yeah.
But
So look, the reality is.
I don't think this is a good fit for where we're at.
And I get it, my main concern is just officer safety, right? I've got one person working, you're gonna see how many times myself and Lieutenant have come out in the last 3 months over here, but I've got one person working at a time, and they're on their own.
And I understand. But I think we can adjust that in the budget cycle, which is coming up.
September 5th.
Now,
I'm gonna disagree that we can adjust it in the budget cycle. I think this gives us 3 years to get it adjusted in the budget cycle.
you know what?
And it won't be
You're
your
right.
problem, you won't be mayor.
You're right, Nick, and it won't be my problem because I'm retired.
You're not wrong.
And I'm at the age where I can just say, you know what? My kids don't want this property, I'll just quit paying taxes, the city can have.
Very kind of you.
Hey. You know,
But you do bring up a valid point, right? Like, I understand your concern, and it is an issue that the chief wants to address, and I think
well,
it could be worked into the budget eventually, right? But you are correct that my intention is not to be here in 4 years, right? Just realistically, right? I've been here 2 terms, so I mean, it's not gonna be my problem, but I don't wanna do that either. I don't wanna set up somebody for
you're
failure.
still gonna live here.
Yeah, I'm still gonna live here,
If you
so,
don't live here, your property's still gonna pay.
yeah, it's still gonna be here, yeah.
Yeah, but the
So-
budget's not gonna be his problem, is trying to figure out how to pay for the 4th year of these 2 officers. So come up with
But if
200
we
grand
don't,
in our budget.
but if we don't grow, I mean, it's not 200 grand, right? It's $135,000, right? 65.
Inflation.
Right, but anyways,
I'd say we go for it.
because, well, anyways, the point being is,
Do we not think 4 years from now, we're not gonna be 2 people bigger?
that's my point, right? We have to grow, right? Whether it's by way of our budget or by way of, we budget for it in 4 years, right? Like, we start putting cash away for the 4th year and going forward.
Do you have the 25% in the budget for next year when this goes into effect?
I mean, I know we can afford the 25%, right? So of the $50,000 starting salary, whatever it may be, the 25%, I'm pretty sure we can work that in with the potential budget increase that would come.
Well,
But
at 2 people, that goes back to our whole number of $100,000, so it's around your 20.
I beg to differ, sir.
Salary is just one
If-
part of it.
Yeah.
If we say $50,000 a year, their actual cost is gonna be closer to $100,000 a year.
With the fringe
That's
benefits
why,
that are covered.
and that's why I'm throwing out $100,000 instead of $50,000. We're not,
I would agree with it. I would agree with it.
so what we're talking about then is $50,000 next year. $60,000 the second year. I'm gonna go 70,000, so now we're talking about $150,000. Per officer in the 3rd year. Now we're out of money.
You
But-
reviewed
Neither here
So
nor
I've
there.
spoken to the grant writer about it.
Right, that's why I'm wondering if you've reviewed the specific document, because you've already stated 2 things that are not.
Right, they're
accurate
not
in
on there
there, so I
that,
was-
yeah, I was looking at
Right,
it on that.
yeah, so I just wanna make sure that there's nothing else that's missing from this or any other incorrect information that we need to know before we can make a decision on this.
No, that's the way it works.
So it's 2 full-time and the 4th year we're responsible for, the only 2 things missing in the grant.
And the
Thank
current phase is gonna cost $2,000 right now. So
Yeah.
that's good. That's supply.
Go for it.
And we may not even get it.
Yeah.
And we.
We may or may not even
We
get
don't
it,
think
you know,
we
if
can
they,
make it,
if
we
they
can always turn it down.
you know, you're putting in
So
for the
let's
grant.
just go for
I
it.
feel like we get it. I think we get it. I mean, we're gonna be recognized as being understaffed right off the bat. We are understaffed, right? And by all means, I'm grateful for how far we've grown since I've been here. I'll be hitting a year in August and we made leaps and bounds in a positive direction, but we still got miles to go before we were where we need to be. We're understaffed. I mean, my officer, luckily, we had a tip. It was gonna be a big party. I said, you know what? I need 2 people working at night. You don't come in on day shift. And sure enough, they're in a pursuit and they're chasing people, vehicle pursuit, foot pursuit. It turned into a big old mess the other day. But luckily, I had 2 people working to cover each other because by the time Bear County got there, that guy would have been by himself, right? So,
Yeah, we've dealt with that.
yeah, I know we have, but nobody wants to. I mean, I've been 29 years, I've been there. and
I'm in
I've
agreement.
had citizens express concerns about police officers responding as a single entity in response to their calls.
All right, well, let's
So-
let's make a motion to see if
Is
we
this-
can.
Just another question, is it
Sure.
the same company that's done the other grant proposals for you?
Yeah.
Well, I move that we apply for this grant.
Also,
Location of the funds? Source of the funds, it costs us $2,000 to apply for it, where do
Yeah.
you move to pull those funds from?
I mean, find the 2,000.
Yeah, we can find it in
From
the
the
budget.
budget.
Yeah.
And you second,
All right, I got a motion by Alderman Rapino and a second by Alderwoman CJ to apply for the grant for a total of $2,000 with the funds to come out of the PD budget. It's up for discussion.
Would getting these 2, if we get these 2 on a grant, would that preclude or still necessitate the need for you to fill the vacant position you have now? You're still gonna wanna fill that position?
Correct, I would still wanna fill that position, that's a budget position, number 1, number 2. The goal right now is to get to 6 people on patrol, so I could have a swing shift on either shift covering these guys in that peak hour of time, having a backup unit there.
So my only, point would be that these 25%, portions that
Right,
the
match.
city has to pay, that it comes out of the police budget.
When you say peak hours, can you define that, please?
I would say those peak hours would be, since they are on 12-hour shifts, 3 to 3, 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. Or 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. Because I have a 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. shift, a 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. shift. A 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. shift would cover people getting out of work, high flow of traffic coming home, and then you've got the 8, 9, 10 to 2 in the morning arguments, family disturbances, intoxicated people, or whatever the case may be, plus your burglaries that are happening at, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
So Mayor, based on your experience, almost 3 years now as mayor and doing the budget for the city, do you think that the city will be able to come up with 100% of the salary and benefits needed for 2 additional police officers in year 4?
In year 4, I honestly do believe so. We raised our taxes considerably last time around, okay? And I'm not saying that we should do that again. However, we are able to increase annually to a certain percentage. And it's not much, but it's enough to where it does make an impact to the budget.
It's quite a bit, sir.
What, 10% or what's the number?
Like this one.
3.25?
That's non-voter.
Yeah, the non-voter approval. So I mean, it's an amount that I think is necessary.
But I'd say just in filling those spaces, we're getting some really quality homes out here.
Yeah.
The tax roll without the tax roll itself is increasing.
Yep.
Annually.
Yeah, so to his point, yeah, I think it can based off of
3
just
years
the
ago,
tax roll.
4 years ago, we were not looking at $1 billion budget.
Right.
Okay, now we're looking at 1.8.
So
Uh,
second part, in order to help ensure we have that funds available, is it a potential to add money to the investments that we have as a city and then use that to pay salary later? Is that authorized to do that?
Yeah, I don't see why we couldn't put it into a savings account, and that's something that me and Tom have been,
I've been talking
Yeah.
about.
right, and that's what we've been talking about.
So that's allowable though, to take it out of that to pay a salary if we're unable to come up with it elsewhere in the budget.
I don't see.
Of course,
Yeah.
you can take that out anytime you need, but we need to start putting something in there.
Yes,
Yeah, just a backup plan to help come up, ensure we're able to cover that. That's my big concern. I don't want to stick the future mayor with a
Yeah.
large bill based on our vote.
off
here
of what we
today.
did 4 years ago.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Think about it.
That's my only question.
Okay, so we do have a motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, all those opposed, that motion carries. We will reach out to the grant writer. All right, next item, let's try to finish this up, is 12G. Discuss under possible action on appointing a municipal court clerk or deputy court clerk. In this case, I would like to, if Delma would so wish to, remove her deputy or her municipal court clerk title and appoint it to Jeremy. Jeremy has finished his 90-day probation. He has excelled by all ways, shapes, and forms that I could have imagined. He's helped me figure out things that we couldn't put a finger on. And that's not any way, shape, or form a knock to Delma. That's just, he knows other people that do the job, and he was able to call and get some information. He's a
He's got a
wealth
breadth of experience in city government, so I would move to appoint Jeremy as the municipal court clerk.
I'll second.
I have a motion by the Mayor Pro Tem and a second by Alderman Rapino to appoint Jeremy Fernandez as the municipal court clerk. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right. Thank you, Delma, for your service as court clerk in the interim. Appreciate it. All right, lastly, let's see here, 12H, discuss and possible discussion on a take-home unit for the sergeant on duty. I know we've talked about this previously. I've been seeing a lot of our officers coming in on off days, on weekends, on holidays, whatever it may be. I think it's only right that we give the sergeant, right? No, the lieutenant, I'm sorry, it's the lieutenant on duty, the opportunity to take home a vehicle for the purposes of commuting to work, one, and then also to come in on his days off when he's at home. I know the chief presented a statement here. It says, March to May, Lieutenant Alvarez and Chief Waters have responded to calls outs or out of the city response 15 times. This includes Lieutenant Alvarez responding to officer assistance calls in the city 3 times, CAC interviews 5 times, and meeting at the DA's office 1 time. Chief Waters has responded to officer assistant calls 4 times. Lieutenant Alvarez and Chief Waters also had a meeting at the crime lab together 2 times.
So Chief, would this vehicle come with that log sheet similar to the one I showed you that the state of Maryland uses for him to document his mileage and where he's going with this vehicle?
So I know you gave it to me, we've not put that into effect.
I know, but would you generate something similar for him to use with a personal vehicle, with a city vehicle if we gave it to him to travel back and forth to the city?
We could, I mean, we could implement something like that. My whole point is just, we're far, right?
Absolutely.
And a lot of times it's get here, but have to go back over there, right? Especially with these sexual assaults, and she's been doing a lot of traveling her own first, because she's been going to these PhD interviews with the lieutenant. And they even have to go to, correct me if I'm wrong, where with Seguin for another one,
I
right?
understand the need for it. I'm just asking
Yeah.
that if we
We
do
could-
authorize it, that he be required to document his mileage.
I mean, yeah, I don't have a problem putting something like that into effect, but yeah, that's my main goal.
Or we could pay $13.95 and get an automated report. Well,
Oh, what do we need, a motion?
Yeah.
Do we need to increase the vehicle maintenance and fuel for this vehicle? It's gonna be putting a lot more miles, so.
Yeah.
Which vehicle does he use? What's the
The
age of the
budget.
vehicle that he's using?
Yeah, which vehicle?
2013? 13 pickup.
The 2013, it's the old animal control, Ford.
Is that one that's incurring significant maintenance?
It had some AC issues.
I'll roll down the
I
list.
think that I know, right, yeah. And I think that was the only biggest issue that it's had, was that one had AC issues
Is
recently.
he gonna have this in
I
a
would-
fenced yard, or does he have a garage, or?
He lives in a rental house. There is a garage there, but, it was my old rental. I lived there, never had a problem with anything, but that's not the can't happen, right? I mean, it.
I mean,
It
'cause the
happened
vehicle has
anyway.
markings on it. or
Does not.
something?
It
does
does
not
not,
mark.
it is unmarked, but I mean, it happens. I've take home units for 3/4 of my career and I've had them broken into. I mean, sometimes that happens, right? But, it's just. When I weigh the risks and the benefits, I mean, I just think he needs, he needs to take one.
And he still has his personal vehicle, right? So you're not gonna see it at Home Depot, you're not gonna see it at O'Reilly's or whatever, right? It's to commute to and from work and from home to the site of the investigation or whatever it may be.
And there's significant amounts left in the fuel budget for the police department as well, so the
Well,
fuel, shouldn't be an issue.
I don't think we should concern ourselves with that. I think that's the police chief's concern, is to
Monitor.
Find out where it's gonna come out of the budget.
monitor the budget, make recommendations that we amend to. I think all of our supervisory personnel should be, at this point with their experience, reaching out and saying, we need this, we need that. So it shouldn't, the mayor should not be the only person that says, oh, you gotta make the budget.
Hmm.
So we're paying people some pretty decent wages to make decisions and supervise, and part of being a supervisor is manage your budget. I'm not concerned about how much gas is going on.
My biggest concern, as Alderman Tremblay mentioned, is gonna be the vehicle maintenance, given the fact that they have spent a lot and the vehicle is relatively old, so. The
Maybe we
expenses
need
would
to
be
shift,
important.
maybe we need to shift vehicles, put the older vehicle in back in city use and a newer vehicle under
But
his.
he needs an unmarked vehicle,
He
right?
does not need an unmarked vehicle. No, it's just, I'd rather my officers in uniform have the marked vehicles, right? So, but no, he does not need an unmarked. He's a police officer. He's got a marked unit.
I mean, he can take one of the Tahoes.
He could take one of the other Tahoe's still not been marked.
Yeah.
And it still has
Oh,
not
yeah.
been,
What's the age of that one though?
that one is date
17,
17.
so not much newer, but newer.
Yeah, but again, I mean, that's still good, but even
Even
a 1-year-old vehicle could
Yeah.
be like really bad and about to fall apart, depending on how you.
I say put him in the car that has the best mileage.
Well, I would agree with that. I would leave it to the chief to determine out of his whole force, which
Yeah,
would be
that's
the
what I'm
best one
thinking.
to give to the officer, to the lieutenant,
He is the chief,
because he's responsible for the budget for the maintenance of the vehicle.
yeah.
So do we need a,
Oh, one other thing, Joey.
okay,
We don't have any type of, if he's gonna be traveling back and forth with this vehicle, we have no type of roadside assistance or anything. Can we buy a roadside assistance? You know, for like towing breakdown for that one vehicle? Can we do that with city money?
No,
So
it's
you
not-
added to the auto insurance policy,
I don't know if they.
I don't know if you
offer
can do
that.
it
I
through
can call
there,
them.
but I mean, you can buy.
AAA or something.
AAA or something like that for that vehicle.
The police department qualified for AAA, chief.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's, the liability is probably gonna be up there, right? I mean, because they know we get into
Well,
twos.
I can call the risk
liability
pool. and
insurance.
see if they
I
offer.
would just feel comfortable if it was me having to drive that older vehicle back and forth to work. I'd feel more comfortable if I knowing I had some type of roadside assistance program, whether it be a flat tire or fuel, you know, just a
Yeah.
breakdown. Wayne's over there, he's got a record.
Yeah,
Oh, there we go.
But yeah, that would just be one thing that we add some type of roadside assistance insurance program from some company.
is that a motion, sir?
I'll see if they have it. And if not, we can go through a AAA or something like that.
Yeah, I bet.
Do we need a motion? I mean,
Well, I'd move that we authorize the sergeant on duty or lieutenant on duty to utilize a city-owned vehicle to, report back and forth to his home and to respond to investigations off-duty hours. And that we, as well put some type of, roadside assistance, insurance on the vehicle that he'll utilize.
I'll second.
All right, so I do have a motion by Alderman Tremblay and a second by Alderman Rapino to authorize the sergeant or lieutenant on duty to have a take-home vehicle to commute from home to the office and to the various sites as necessary for the job, and to authorize the addition of roadside assistance to that vehicle for the commute. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
All those opposed? All right, that motion carries. I need one.
Adjourn.
All right, it is now 9:46. We are adjourned.
Yeah,
I think so.
They were just getting started when I left them here, because I stopped by to ask for volunteers.
Vegas.
to the park.